truth is, you're as dumb as they come.
It's a house!
You know, that's just one step above.
How's it going? All right. Wow, it's Tracy Von Brott. How's it going? Well, yeah, I put out a video today. Hardly got any views again. Just sort of dies right out of the gate. I don't know what the hell's going on, man. You know? It's just, I think they're interesting and people, somehow it doesn't get into the algorithm. Who knows? Yep. Huh? I was wondering where Baz B was. I haven't seen you in a long time.
It's a house!
Yeah. Yep, there's Baz B. I mean, do you guys actually share the videos when I put them out? I don't know. Doesn't seem like it makes it. They don't make it. I feel like I need to go take a bite of an apple or something. Hold on. I was feeling like I was sort of, I don't know, zonked out. Didn't have enough sugar or something. So I'm finishing eating a bite. Not sure what you're talking about, Vincent. You're probably not very long for the channel here. Hey, thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. And welcome up there to Mimi. All right. Well, anyways, now there's a couple things going on. Like for a couple days now, I've been following that case of Marley Kinney, but it's not really a case, you know. Or what? I mean, I don't know. It could be, but I don't think so. You know, the girl in Kentucky, they were at a lake, and then they were swimming, and then someone got out of the little boat that they were renting, or whatever you call it, and she went to go to the bathroom. Or I guess apparently they were all sort of in the water going to the bathroom, and then they all got back in the boat, and then later they go, oh, she never got back in the boat. So the parts about that are weird are like, I mean, normally when you're hanging out with a bunch of friends, you're like best friends with somebody. You know, wouldn't like somebody notice that you're not around? See, what I think happened was there was a guy driving a boat. He was drunk. She ended up dying because of his reckless activity. Everybody's clamming up. And it wasn't like some intentional, like it wasn't a homicide. Like, I mean, it was a homicide, but like more like negligence, you know. It's not going to be like somebody was strangled. I mean, if it turns out to be that, then it's a whole different story. But I just think it's one of the stupid things that kids do, and she died because they just found her a couple hours ago floating in the water, and that's exactly what I said earlier today on. I think Chasing Truth talked about it, and I said, yeah, it sounds like they're just drunk kids, and her body will float to the surface at some point. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. You know. Yeah, that's what I said. I said it sounds like Murdoch. It's also sort of a little bit like the AG case. Remember the one? Well, you probably weren't even around, but I did a case years ago where at a lake and everybody's partying, and then this girl dies in the water. You know, when she floated to the surface, and then looks like she just sort of drowned. It was kind of like that one too. But Paul Murdoch is the one that Murdaugh is the one that I compared it to the most. Like his was, it's probably very similar. So I don't, it's not like, for me, it's not an interesting. I mean, if you give me a different cause of death and something else happened, then it'll be more interesting. But it currently is just sort of like, that's what happens. These drunk kids, this is what they do. And then when you're drunk, you can drown a hell of a lot easier. Because when you're in the water, sometimes when you're sober, your natural reflexes are to always make sure you're not breathing while your head or something's underwater. And when you're drunk, sometimes it just sort of goes away, that instinct. It's just sort of like you're just, and you might inhale water way easier than if you're sober. Yeah, Lauren Agee, that's the one. Yeah, so that's that one. It sort of seems like a combination of the two. No, I like Honey Crisp. They're way better than any of the other ones. Right. All right. Well, anyways, I hope you guys are able to, possibly support the channel tonight. We had a terrible night last night, the second worst of the month. Right after we had a good night, 2 nights before that, and then today's video, which I try to augment That one did terribly, other than 2 people did support the channel during the video. I thought that the video, see, other people don't talk about the stuff that we talk about. And we do better information than they have, but nobody watches. They want to watch, the same freaking people over and over and over, the reporters again. And it's like, they don't really, I don't know, man. It gets frustrating. No, they're not. Pink ladies suck. It's Honey Crisp or nothing, all right? And that's a fact. Actually, you can't say something's a fact when it's if you don't like Honey Crisp, then you don't like Honey Crisp. I don't really care, though. That's okay. Wild Bill. He got ended up in 6th place. It's pretty amazing in the bass tournament, so good job there. Karen, that's just not the answer, okay? I'm telling you, that's not accurate. It doesn't mean anything that people are at work, okay? When you put out videos during the day, if you're a channel that YouTube has you on their algorithm, people are watching it all day long. That's why when you see other people put out videos in the morning or early afternoon, they get like 50,000 views before, so it's just not accurate. You guys always say the same stuff like that. And I know you're trying to make me feel better, but that's just the truth. I know how it works. I see the numbers and the time that most people are on YouTube, right? I see it. Ah, jeez. Oh yeah, I gotta take the skin off. Right. Well, you probably have family time all the time, 6 kids. I mean, I'm surprised you ever even have time to be here. Thanks, Allie Cake. Yeah, but anyways, the video that I put out today was regarding, it was something we talked about the other day on the show. And then Jason sent me an email saying, hey, maybe you should, he didn't say make a video, just talk about it again. And I thought, well, maybe I'll make a video on that because, I can just say the same stuff that I said during the show that we did. Or some of it, And what's weird is I remember a long time ago I did say multiple times that they sent the ransom note to the news channels, and then I don't know why I was thinking that, but I said that after they got no response, they sent it to TMZ. I don't know if I knew back then that TMZ got theirs on the 3rd, and then I don't remember how that all developed, but I've been saying for a long time that I think that the ransom note was sent to KOLD and that other news channel, and then they weren't hearing anything, so they got impatient and wanted to, make it a bigger deal for some reason, and then sent it to TMZ, because the way it works is it's at 5 o'clock. Hey, thanks, Tracy Von Brott. So, the first ransom note was received by KOLD the following day. So on the 1st, early in the morning on the 1st is when she was abducted, at 2:30 in the morning when Nancy Guthrie was abducted. And then that was on the 1st. And then on the 2nd at 5 p.m., that's around 5 p.m. Obviously it's not 5 p.m., right? It could be, but that's just not, that's usually when somebody's just giving you a random time. So they're saying, so that's going to be, you can just do it in your head by saying, 2:30 in the morning, and then the next day at 2:30 in the morning, that's already 24 hours, right? Well, then you have to go all the way from 2:30 in the morning all the way till, and then you go to 2:30 in the afternoon. So that'd be another 12 hours. That'd be 36 hours. Well, now they said 5 o'clock. So then you add 2.5 hours of that, and that's 38.5 hours. All right. But then TMZ says that they got one the following day in the morning. So, I mean, you could pretend, let's just pretend it was 2:30 in the morning the next day they got it in their mail. Well, that's 12 hours later than that even. So that's 48 hours later. So does anybody think when somebody says she died shortly after she was abducted that that would go all the way up into 48 hours later? I think when somebody says shortly after, they mean like, within an hour. 2-3 hours maybe. They're not talking about 48 hours later. So I think the fact that they sent the same ransom note to TMZ further bolsters what I was saying on the video, that she was already dead when they wrote that first ransom note, meaning that the part in there that she's alive was a lie in that video. They still tried to get the money, but when they realized that they weren't able to, because they listened to the messages being put out there by the media, etc., and they wanted to have proof of life, and they weren't able to provide proof of life, so they eventually just said, you know what, screw this. And so what's interesting about that is, at that moment when they realized they couldn't do proof of life, why not they just disappear? Why not just take off at that point? Hey, thanks 6 kids and Daphne. And Wild Bill Wassman up there. All matching somebody. I don't know if it was Alley Cake or not matching, but following the wave. Yeah, so that's how I look at it. I think that they lied in the first ransom note, and you could even call it like a second release of the same ransom note, which it's at least 7 hours later if you say in the morning on the 3rd, okay? If it was at 12:01 a.m. or something, but it's at least 7 hours later, so that means they likely lied in that one too. And then the fact that they lied in that one, then what do we do now? That means they do, they have the ability to lie. So then the second ransom note, and hell, even the first one was, is it possible the we's are lies? I guess you could say, sure, it's possible. Is it likely? I don't know. I don't think it's likely. That seems like sort of an act, you just sort of say we without thinking about it. It's kind of natural, just sort of comes out if it's a we. I mean, hell, I say we sometimes. Like I could do a whole video and something, but I say we did this, referring to all of us freaks on the channel. Yeah, she's probably scared out of her mind. They know exactly when it took place. Nah. Let me see what this one says. Ransom notes are either the ransom notes is what you meant to say, are either entirely fake by some sicko trying to get money, or the perp intended ransom. But she died, and they are still trying to get money. I don't know. Sure. What I'm saying is that they died. She died, and they still put out that first message. If she did die, I mean, so the thing is, it is possible that she was still alive during those first 2 ransom notes, and but you know what? I don't think they would have said in the second one. There's nothing you could have done, because the second one was already after the ransom was demanded, and hours and hours and hours later, there would have been time to send it in for that second one. So I just think she just wasn't alive. I think she died pretty soon after she was abducted. Yeah, there's never been a proof of life. We've talked about that many times, Jason. It's not a new thing. Yeah. I think so the nut job theory, if you were going to do that one, it's I guess that's a little bit more complicated now. So now if you're going with the nut job theory, the one single individual, that means, instead of this being a walkie-talkie, it would have to be a scanner. Okay? There's no way in hell. If he has a walkie-talkie, there is a second person, right? I mean, you can even see how it's kind of curved, at the end, the cylinder. So it's either walkie-talkie or a scanner. So in the theory of it being a nut job, you would say that the scanner, it would be a scanner where you could listen, but then you'd have to have a headset because you'd want to constantly be monitoring it. So I don't know. I just feel like it's, at this point, I'm more inclined to believe that that there are a couple people at least on this, just two on the scene, I think. There may be somebody else behind all of them. Who knows? But there's two at the scene. And I think there's one person waiting in the car, and there's this one. Because the nut job theory, it's starting to get too complicated. You have to start coming up with some wild stuff, like, oh, yeah, they wrote "we" intentionally to trick people. But, the weird part is why would you ever send the second letter? So that's even weirder now, once we've gone through all this stuff. The second ransom note, that really wasn't a ransom. It was just saying, hey, she passed away. Nothing you could have done could have helped. We didn't mean to kill her. We're sorry. What was the point of that thing? It doesn't even make sense at all. I mean, I keep trying to think about it. It's just, you gave another opportunity to be discovered. They must have felt really secure in the communication method. They did send it back to the same news outlet. They might have felt safe doing that because remember, after the first letter was sent, the person at the news channel, I think, said how secure it was and that they made it so it's anonymous and we can't track the IP addresses because we want people to feel safe. So then that's why the second one they sent back there, and whatever countermeasures they used originally were good enough still on the first one that they sent to TMZ. Right? All right, you guys. Hope we're not going to be like last night, but if you guys have a chance to help support the channel, we're starting off with the LOLs. And what's weird is, like, right now I'm doing a show and we have 161 watching, but like when I put a video out, if I get 50, it's a miracle. Watching it while it's playing. Yeah, why would you have that? Space Kid. No, we're not going to do handheld GPS device. Okay, we're not doing it. All right. The kidnappers thought the second ransom letter might have a law enforcement cooldown. What? No, it wouldn't. That would have never have that effect on it. That's ridiculous. Oh, okay, you guys, let's not look into these people anymore. All right. Yeah, let's go ahead and let's not look into these people anymore. Because they were kind and they said they didn't mean to do it. So yeah, don't worry about it. They're not as bad as we thought. And yeah, it doesn't work like that. Sending in a letter like that doesn't cool anybody down. I don't know. It's the same, and there is a live chat on my videos. 6 Kids, that's what I'm telling you. It's not just a video, it's a premiere where people can chat the entire time it's playing. Yeah. And I have had where I've had 400 people watching my videos when I put them out. But now if you get 50, it's a miracle. So it's like something is off on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah, I think we did look into the handheld GPS devices, and they don't look like that. Right? Yeah, there might be like a Garmin one has a longer handle on it, but I don't know. I don't think these guys are buying Garmins. Those things are hundreds of dollars. I mean, this one right there does have the, but that looks, it's not as thick looking. It's about the only one. The rest of them are really short. And I don't know. That just seems kind of ridiculous. No, they don't really ever have answers. The YouTube people, they just pretend that they're trying to help, and they don't. But anyways, you guys, I need your guys' support on the channel tonight, so if you could please buy some channel memberships for other people, maybe do a challenge of some sort, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, so the individual one doesn't really work that well anymore. I mean, you could say, okay, having the second person and the we and the likely a walkie-talkie just all makes more sense because everything's easier, Like now you have somebody with the vehicle. Without it, you have to have the guy exit the home and for some reason go back with a backpack. See, in this one, because that was always something that was bothering me a little bit. It's like, why would you put the backpack on if you knew after you went to the front of the house that you would disrupt the camera and then have to go back to the vehicle to go get it? Why wouldn't you just leave the backpack in the car until that time? Because when you get to the car now, you have to take the backpack off to get into the seat because it was so full, and then drive over there and then park the car. But now that you have a secondary person, you can have them waiting in the car. And for some reason, I keep thinking it's like a female now in the other car. I don't know why it's like that, but you have a female in the car, and then they it was plausible, but it's not as likely. And so after the person goes into the home and has control of Nancy, maybe who knows what time that was. Law enforcement has a good idea, and that's when they radioed, with the walkie-talkie to the person waiting and said, "Okay, ready, pull up the car now." They already knew; they'd been there before. They knew where to pull up the car. And he knew where the car was going to be pulled up. That's why he removed the camera, because the car was pulling up there. Other than that, he did not care that he was going to be seen on camera. So he pulls the car pulls up, and then you take Nancy out, put her in the car. But by yourself, it's a lot more complicated. You go into the house, you have to tie her up and hope she doesn't escape while you exit the house through the front door again. Go out to the street, go get the vehicle, then pull it around, and that would be probably and then the car is, she's alone for a while, and then the car is in the front longer than it needed to be if you had a secondary person. Thanks, Karen. And Wild Bill Wassman. I lost my screen over here. Hold on. Yeah. Well, I was saying that the guy that's writing the letters later to Harvey, the secondary letters. I mean, it's weird. That guy could actually be somebody related to the kidnappers. That's what I was saying, or even one of them. And then is just trying to make it look like there's something else and trying to get the money in a secure way. That's why he doesn't want to turn himself into the FBI or something like that, because they might figure out that he's the guy, right? And so wouldn't that be interesting if he's literally the guy and he's just kind of using a similar technique? Ah, jeez. I said that already, Space Cadet. Do you even listen to the show, or do you just keep typing over and over and over again to see how much you can type? I just said exactly what you said earlier. It's just crazy. He died right away. The ransom note writer might have heard and thought it was worth it to pretend they had her and ask for the money anyways. That's exactly what I said. I said they probably thought they'd give it a chance and try to get the money anyways. It's wild. Unbelievable. Let's see. Yeah, just kind of slow down a little bit. Try to listen to what people are saying, and then you won't have to repeat exactly what somebody else just said. Ah, jeez. How come you didn't say that when I said it earlier, Simon Henderson? Yeah. Right. I think we're full. We got Troll Central in here tonight. Okay. Right. I think these are like a troll pack in here. They're doing this little game that they like to play. A drone controller? And where's the drone? No, it's not a drone controller. They don't look like that. I have drones. They don't look like that. I know, we were just saying that earlier, Karen. I think it's really unlikely that they just randomly they threw "we" in 2 letters to make it seem. I don't know. That's, anything's possible. Anything's possible, sure. If you haven't already, can we discuss what info was already released in the media before the first letter? Well, the same day that the first letter was put out there, right around the same time, there were already pictures in the backyard of the light that was broken. They may have noticed that. It wasn't like it was reported by everybody right away like that. And then there was pictures of her wearing her Apple Watch, And so, the watch she's wearing isn't white, though, is it? I've seen pictures of her. I don't think it's a white one. But either way, they knew where it was in the house. Not like, none of us knew that. They knew where it was. I guess apparently it was on the floor. How would anybody know that? I would have guessed that it was on the counter next to her bed. I would have said the floor gray. Yeah, I'm sure you would have. Right next to, after you listen to a spirit box. Hey, look, we got a challenge by Karen there. The lone nut job theory seems like the most likely. You think so? Well, that's, that's a theory. That's one of the theories. I just have more weight now. Like I was 60-40 nut job versus ransom gone wrong. But now I'm the other way around. Maybe even more, like 70-30 ransom gone wrong. If not more. It's just like, I think, it just makes sense. Okay. Even though we only see one person, but we only have one camera video, that file that they were able to retrieve. Well, I read an article where it mentioned that it was found on they said it was on the floor. Well, whatever reason it got on the floor. I mean, I don't know what the reason it got on the floor. Nobody knows how, could have got on the floor for any kind of reason. They may have placed it on the floor so they could tell somebody later, hey, you found the watch on the floor. A million reasons how that got on the floor. I mean, it's interesting that they knew that it was on the floor, right? So, in some ways, it almost seems like they put it there intentionally. Because why would you remember something like that? Right in the middle of you're abducting somebody in a house at night, and you're going to remember, oh my God, hey, the watch was on the floor. See, to me, it's like, you want to set something up where you can prove that it was you, maybe. Something real simple like that. Or they just noticed it was on the floor. I mean, whatever. I don't know how else, could have been she reached to grab it and it fell, or don't know. Thanks. Thank you, Allie Cake. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it is possible the we is just to throw people off. We've talked about that on other shows. But, I don't know, when you start putting it together, if that is a walkie-talkie, it looks a hell of a lot like an antenna from one. Then all of a sudden there is another person, and then we is real, and then, it says it in two different ransom notes. And it's also interesting that the other person who's communicating with Harvey, if it's not one of their crew, kept saying the same thing, two people, which is interesting, right? I mean, it seems to fit that. It also makes sense, it allows help in controlling Nancy once she gets in the car, because you obviously would have wanted to keep her alive. I don't think whatever it was that she was bleeding from is why she died. I think it was bleeding quite a bit because she's on blood thinners, and a bloody nose would look like a bullet wound was bleeding. So I think it's more likely she died from just sort of the shock of the situation and her poor heart condition. I mean, she must have been freaked out the entire time. I don't know. Thanks, Karen. Yeah, right now we're at 1/6 of the nightly goal. Last night we didn't come close. We were only at a third. And we're getting really close to the end of the month. This is the 28th. So we only have tomorrow and the next day. There was a chance if we just had normal nights to going that we could have been close to last month. What are you talking about, Simon? You just throw random stuff out there just to, like you're a psychic. You want to make sure you threw everything in the world out there. Pliers used to try to rip off the camera, possibly. Where? Those aren't pliers. Yeah. Those aren't pliers. That's not what he did. He used the plant to pull it off. You could see it in the video. Yeah. Yeah, when you... pliers. Jesus. Where do these people come from? Let's see. What do you think the kidnapper thought the blood was from? I don't know. I mean, what I'm saying is they could have, like, struck her in the nose or face, not even that severely, and it would bleed tremendously because she's on blood thinners. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if there was, to me it doesn't seem like it was a mortal wound or some crap like that. That wouldn't even make sense. That would only make sense in the nut job theory. Is that she literally was never intended to live, and then they just concocted, the whole communication thing was just to watch it unfold on TV and be like, oh man, this is awesome. But then why did you end it so quick, you ended it because she wasn't alive, and you knew it. So that means it's more likely the ransom gone wrong, even right there. Right. Well, you're looking outside the box, and you're saying it's a pair of pliers that's sticking one side out of the pocket? I think it's a vape pipe, you guys. I think it's a bamboo blow dart that was painted black and has a little shine to it. When they went in there, he put one of the darts in there and put some drugs on it and went, and then shot it over there, and it knocked her out. It's not used very often, but how do we know that didn't happen here? Let's look into that one. Yeah, I figured that's who that was. See, Simon Henderson is a troll. They just created the account as the show started. Isn't that amazing, you guys? How we can sniff these people out just like that. And then they want to pretend that they were trying to be helpful. I was just, thinking outside the box. Great. No, you're just being a troll. And that's exactly why you made your comments. Because nobody is that stupid. You know what I'm saying? All right. Watch. We cut to the next scene. Okay, the FBI has just determined he has a pair of pliers in his pocket. Yeah, it's not that. Okay, then why'd you just create your account right as the show started, Simon? Okay. Any reason for that? That's what they do. Well, I liked your channel from watching YouTube, and I thought I'd just created an entire account right now. Yeah, I don't think so. I don't believe you. You like the blow dart theory, Laurie? I do too. I think there's some merit to it. I don't know where he found the darts that would fit the blowgun that he made, but I guess at some point we will figure that out. You create accounts regularly. Oh, that's bull crap, man. Get out of here. Jesus. Yep. All right. So I don't know, you guys. What other thoughts do you guys have, other than pliers in the pocket? All right. Other than that, what else do you got? I create, let's see. We don't know if he propped them open. I don't know. I think he propped open, you know, the gate was propped open. Why would she keep that one propped open at night, Karen? You know, sometimes you got to settle in on something, you know, instead of just questioning every single small, minute piece of information. Yeah, it's just, you know, I don't know, man. You know, I heard, you know, how about this? The daughter said that the doors were propped open. Wouldn't she know more? Wouldn't she just say, yeah, but, you know, the doors were propped open. And so Savannah made it sound like that was an important piece of information. Wouldn't she know better than any of us if she would normally leave those open, propped open? And she would have just said that immediately. Yeah, her back door was propped open, but she always left those propped open. You know, let some fresh air in there at night. You know, wouldn't she have followed with that? But no, we didn't hear that. All right, I'm going to have to ask again, you guys. Can you please help support the channel tonight? We're moving into our donation night coming in 2 days. And yesterday we got crushed. Didn't make the goal. And we're trying to make it in here tonight. So if we could get the support for the channel up, that would be fantastic. Right now we are currently sitting at 1/9, or yeah, 1/7 of the nightly goal. So I hope you guys are hearing what I'm saying. It seems like it just goes in one ear and out the other. Yeah, it doesn't seem very likely she'd leave her door open at night. And then the gate over there. That was the lake that girl was found in. I was looking at it. Yeah. Thanks, Wild Bill Wassman. But how about some of the rest of you guys? Wouldn't that be great? Yeah, so this gate right over here was open, right there. Propped open by probably that potted plant that's right there. Seems like it was still there in some of the recent photos. And then there's a whole bunch of potted plants underneath here. And it propped open the gate that was right, or the door that was right there, right here. All right. And so I doubt she walked around and moved pots around to prop open gates. And by the way, what would be the purpose of propping open a gate? It doesn't let more air in. Okay, there's a lot of air floating around. Oh my God, we're going to sit here and just keep arguing. They can climb walls, Sandy. Yeah, they could climb walls. Yeah. Wouldn't she lock her screen door? You know what? Her sister said the screen door, you know what she said? The doors were propped open. And what people think that means is the screen door and the door were propped open. Because a gate isn't a door, it's a gate. Okay? So the screen door and the door were propped open. That's what I just said. I don't think they said that. I don't remember them ever saying that. That Savannah and Annie said that she would leave her door open at night. Would she lock her screen door then? All right, see you later, Simon. Have a good one. Yeah, you can tell you came in here with a mission. Yeah. Yeah, you're able to have your opinions, Simon, but we can say something back to them. You know, for example, you know that phrase when people say you have to respect somebody's opinion? I don't agree with that at all. I think it's one of the dumbest phrases that's ever come into existence. You know what I believe in? I believe in your right to have an opinion. You can say what you want. Okay? But I am not required to respect your opinion. I think that's absolutely ludicrous. I think I respect your right to have one. You know, you can say what you want, but then I can say what I want towards what you said. You know? That's just the reality of it. Whoever came up with you have to respect somebody's opinion is an idiot. Okay? That phrase, whoever came up with that. It's ridiculous. Yeah, some pedophile comes up to you and gives you their opinion. You got to say, hey, I respect it, you know, and really? No, you're required to. You're required to respect it, all right? Yeah, no, it doesn't work like that. It's my opinion, and I believe it. I really do. But Gray, it's my opinion and I believe in it. I really do. I know. Yeah, I got it. Mm-hmm. Right. They were both propped open. Yeah, just don't worry about it, you guys. You know, Lisa, Karen, everybody, just, who cares? I mean, about the door. You know, it's just such a waste of time. That's like the most incredible waste of time to keep going back and forth on something like that. So anyways, this door was propped open, and this gate was propped open, probably for easy escape after, if in the case of, you know, maybe on the walkie-talkie, somebody goes, hey, somebody's coming. Yeah, that makes sense, Jason. Yeah. You know, like, well, except how would they ever share the proof of life, though? You know, that's the thing. How would they ever share the proof of life? Because it's almost impossible to take a picture and send it without giving away your data, your metadata. So, yeah, it's very difficult. No, she wasn't, though, Karen. She wasn't. Where do you come up with that stuff? Man, it's almost like you intentionally have the opposite opinion of rational thinkers, just to sort of be, you know, like, she's alive a lot longer than that, man. When did she die, then, Karen? She stayed alive for 3 or 4 or 5 days? Just sitting around, just... What does that mean? I don't really get it. You say but it's a waste of time to listen to you guys go back and forth, is what I'm saying, because you're no more right than anybody else. That's the thing. It's just your opinion that the door was propped open. That she does it all the time. Every night she goes to bed, boy. I'll tell you what. It was February. Is it like sweltering hot out there during that time? I think she died within 3 or 4 hours of the abduction. I think that the ransom note sent to KOLD and the one to TMZ were done when she was not alive and hoped to get some money back. That's what they hoped. You said she would leave her back door open. You said it. You said it up there, Karen. You said she used to keep the back doors open a lot at night. That's all the time, right? Like tomato, saying, okay, right here it says, we don't know if he propped them open. She used to keep the back doors open all Well, a lot at night. That's what we were saying, you know. And then down below you said, I never said all the time, but I think, like, you know, it's just like tomato, tomato. It's the same sentence. There are a bunch of, right. Yeah, we looked it up last night. There's tools out there that can remove the metadata from them. I've seen it. I mean, why didn't they do a proof of life then? If she was alive for 2 or 3 days, why didn't they do that? They would have got some, they would have probably got the ransom. If there was proof of life, I think this case would have a lot better chance of being solved. Too, you know. Mm-hmm. God. I know what you're saying. You thought she survived a lot longer. Days late, you know. Proof of life could be communicated by using a special phrase or childhood memory. Only the family. Well, if they had thought of that, yeah. You'd have to think of that. We don't know if they thought of that. I know. We could all sit there and say the same stuff. Everybody thinks of those things. They didn't. Okay? And maybe they didn't think of it. They said what they remember they saw when they were at the house, you know. They saw, and there was more things than just the phone and the watch, etc. There's more things. Being the broken light and the watch, there's way more things that they mentioned, apparently. That's what the lady said that watched it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even saying that the expirated blood, I'm not sure that that's why she died. I think she died from, you know, some other, like just the stress of it on her heart. Yeah, maybe what she was wearing. I don't know if that was out there. I think they believe the information. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I mean, sure, they could have got a phrase or something, but maybe they didn't think of that. You know? They were just doing like proof of life. Maybe, and they may have, I think it was, they wanted a picture of her. Remember the media? Because remember they said, we know AI is something out there, you know, so. You know, it would have been, what they should have done was have Savannah and them ask for some piece of information that only she would know, and then put it in the letter. Then they could have avoided any kind of being trapped. But that wasn't asked for. They was like, you know, send us a picture or proof, and then they mentioned AI. I don't know. I'm just trying to remember about how that went back then. But what's going on, you guys? Last 2 days, just, you know, Lowell City, we're just absolutely struggling in here. And it's really frustrating for me. Well, I mean, if it was something that only she would know and told them, why wouldn't it mean that? Maybe they know him? So you think it's like a family member, right? Oh, yeah? Good for you. Jim? Right. Yeah, who knows? I just don't think they said she died shortly after she was abducted. You know, she may not even have made it home. You know, that's what we were saying. It's just it's like made it to where they were going, you know. Who knows? And then the next day they were like, "Oh shit, let's just try it," you know. Hopefully they don't ask for proof of life, and then they didn't. And then they waited a few days, and then they saw some of the messages and so forth that were put out there, and then they felt like, okay, let's just, you know, send one more message. Let's just, you know, cut and run. Just get the hell out of here. All right. Good for you, Jim. I hope you're not going to put a joke in or something. Well, because, okay, what about, do you ever follow the Delphi case, Davey? They had a guy on a video that killed 2 little girls, and they didn't catch him for 5 years. He even spoke on the video. He said words. Right, so what makes this one any different than that? How about the Missy Beavers case? Yeah. It all just depends on what your, you know, the kind of outfit you have on. It probably looks absolutely nothing like the guy. You can see eyes in there. You can see maybe a little bit of facial hair on the mouth, but I mean, there's tons of people that have that. Is she here for the soccer, Jim? The World Cup? All right, good night, Wild Bill Wassman. Thanks for your support there. I already said that, Sandy. Jesus, man. It's just so wild, you know. Had no mask. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I just think it's a ransom gone wrong. After she died, they made an effort to try to get a ransom and then tried to make it even a bigger deal. They thought, hell, maybe TMZ will pay for it, or who knows, right? And then they sent it over there, and it didn't work. Then a few days later, they sort of sent out a passive apology. I mean, they do apologize right at the end. And actually it seemed almost like they were trying to make Savannah feel better, that even if she had sent in, you know, because they probably thought that she's feeling like if she had sent the ransom in, maybe would have done something, but it didn't. No, she didn't send it in, but it wouldn't have made a difference anyways. So that means that I would think it would mean likely she died prior to the first ransom note being sent out, even though they tried to get the money anyways, but when they were asked for proof, they weren't able to prove it. And that's really it, you know. It's and then after that, they buried her body somewhere. And this is what I said before we knew what was in this letter. I said that they buried her body somewhere in the desert because they did not want to continue. They didn't. They just wanted to, you know, cut the ties to the case. Just boom, we're out of this. because now it's murder. It's felony murder. So they needed to end it. We said that like a couple months ago. I mean, even more than that, like 3. It doesn't matter, Sandy. It's the same story. Just let it be the way it is, you know. We don't need to do like extra, you know, the part about the mask, and you know, he's far away too in that one, so it's equivalent. He's way further away from the camera. This one, he's right next to it. He has a balaclava on. Due to the not working for Lake. So Delphi case took 5 years to solve. Are you saying? What does that even mean? Are you saying that is okay? What does that mean? What a ridiculous... where do you come from? Hey, you guys. So the Delphi case took 5 years to solve? You're saying that is okay? Can anybody tell me where I said that? Anybody? Anybody tell me where I said that at all? I'm just saying, it's not as easy as you think to identify somebody. They have a video of this guy wearing a balaclava that he purchased and clothing that he purchased that he'd never worn before. So there isn't a soul in the world that would go, oh, look at that, that's Jim, because he has that pair of shoes, he's got that pair of pants, he's got that, you know. And then he goes there that day, and then he does what he does, and he's on camera. And you think they're just supposed to recognize him somehow because of AI. Everybody, oh, the AI, just put him through AI, you guys. And it's insane. All right? Nobody said it's okay. It's just is what it is. The Delphi case, it turns out, should have been solved in 2 weeks because Richard Allen had already said he was bridge guy, basically, before. I mean, and then they lost the lead for all those years. So that one, I'd say, but the video itself didn't lead to an arrest. And then in the Missy Beavers case, it hasn't led to an arrest. How come? Yeah. Dave, it's not a picture of a person. You're just... Cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. It's a person completely disguised. If you call that, you basically have a picture of a person. Yeah, you know what it is? It's basically having a picture of a silhouette. That's what it'd be. Because you can't see anything. You can see a little eyes in there, a little bit of a goatee or something. I mean, they have him on camera, and maybe somehow, who's going to recognize that, though? You know, there's people out there doing these overlays, and maybe that has some chance of working. Fitting the eyes in there, and I don't know. I just don't know what else to say about that. But where did I say that it wasn't that it was okay, Davey? Can you point to that portion of the show where I said it's okay? I'm saying it just is what it is. There isn't a value judgment on it. There's people all the time robbing buildings wearing balaclavas in New York, and they never get caught. Ever. They just run, they still haven't caught, I don't think, those kids that killed that college student in, what was it, Pennsylvania or whatever it was. And they have those people without masks on. I know, you keep saying the same thing over and over. I know you've already said that twice now, Jason. Ray, I'm just saying the ransoms would want to get proof of life as soon as possible because she could pass before the chance to ask. Well, how would they know? They wouldn't think that she was going to pass. They underestimated, remember? Makes sense. She wouldn't be asked upon arrival, so the letter could be written ASAP. I don't know. They're doing as good a job as they can do, Davey. They're using the FBI. You don't think that so you think right when they showed up they would go, okay, tell us something only you would know really quick. Okay, cool. Hey, then, I don't know. I don't think things work like that. I think their main goal was to get her out of the home as quick as possible. And then when they, later on, when they may have asked her something like that, she wasn't alive anymore to ask the question. So she may have died before they got to wherever they were going. And then they might not have even gone home and said, oh my God, she's not even alive, and went and buried her somewhere first, That's a possibility too. But yeah, I mean, sure. You mean your thoughts, Cage Indy? Yeah. Who are you? See, you're just another one of these people that hadn't commented the entire night, but you have to come in and troll people. Nobody said anything about that, Cage Indy. Your brain isn't working correctly. Your mind doesn't work. Okay, I'll let Gary know, wherever Gary is. Let's see. Yeah, that does make sense, To me, it makes sense that they went into the home and they got her out as quick as possible. They're not asking any questions like, hey, tell us something only you would know. They're not doing that yet. They're going to ask that later, but they never got the chance to ask. Or maybe that's not even what they were going to do. Who knows what their thought process was, but she didn't live long enough to even be able to develop another plan to prove her life. Okay? They didn't do it. They didn't have time. And they said she died shortly after she was abducted. What a joke, Cage Indy. Look in the mirror. Try that sometime. You'll see the biggest joke you ever saw in your life. Grady to catch? No, I don't watch idiots like that. Thanks, though. Yeah, don't ever mention that guy's name again, please. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Let's see. Huh? With all the resources that they have been thrown at the case, it is perplexing that there hasn't been an identification. How come? The person at the front porch is look at, how are you going to identify that person? They probably, somewhere out there, it's possible they might be able to find somewhere, like somebody purchasing with cash some items at a Walmart somewhere. I just don't know, man. It's not perplexing to me. You look at it and you go, wow, how is anybody going to be able to identify that person? That's how I look at it. Like, what makes it seem like this person here should easily be identified? I mean, I know what you're saying, like the technology in terms of maybe the car too and stuff like that. But like we've gone over many times, the condition of the houses and how far they're laid back and everything like that make it like very difficult to identify anybody. Hey, it looked like Karen made another challenge up there, you guys. Thanks, Karen. We need one more gifted membership to match that. You know that the 5 is the highest we've had the entire night. I mean, this is an absolute struggle in here. Right now we're still only at 1/6 of the nightly goal after an hour and 16 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, sometimes they do that. He didn't need to spray it. Look what he's wearing here. So let me ask you something here. So here's this guy right here, right? And I think he went out and he bought these pants, these shoes, this jacket, that backpack, that balaclava, and he bought some gloves, and he's wearing them that day. That's the first time he ever wore those things. Okay? That's it. And so, how would you be able to tell who that is underneath there? His height is very common, you know? His body shape is very common. Everything's common about him. I mean, I know what you're saying. Like, I mean, just technology overall. Is that what you're saying, Laura Stone, up there? Just like technology overall, I guess, you know. Yeah, it is sort of like, man, I mean, with all the cameras, I mean, look we've done this whole thing out here. Look, we, on multiple shows, these are where different cameras are that a vehicle could have been spotted at. And what we were saying on one of the shows is you probably want to start off by finding a vehicle moving around by one of these cameras and then try to backtrack it and see if one of them could possibly have come from Nancy Guthrie's home area, you know, like right in this area over here. And one of the things that was interesting is Annie's map is this red one here. And look how her map that she put out avoids cameras all the way to where it ended over here. I don't know what her thing was. Like, hey, if you have surveillance on this route, you know, send it over. It's sort of interesting, right? Yeah. Technology, the vehicle. Yeah, the vehicle. Well, right now the vehicle's very difficult because of the way things are set up over there. But I bet you somewhere they have the vehicle on camera at some point, somewhere, on some video that they have. Maybe you can't see it well, though. The DNA, you know, they're still working on the DNA, apparently. But, I mean, how do they know that the DNA that they've got is associated with the person? And then, yeah, I mean, the friends and so forth, I mean, how would they know? Yeah, they never did that press conference where they came forward and said, if you notice somebody that, you know, do the profiler thing where they always say the same thing, where they tell you that, you know, if someone appears different, if they shaved recently, but they hadn't shaved in a long time, you know, stuff like that. I don't know. All right, so how about now, just randomly, throw out some out-of-the-box thinking. Go ahead. Let's hear it. I'm not gonna agree. Just do it, man. Let's see it. Let's hear it. We'll have around 20 minutes of... I sort of wonder, could they have been on four-wheelers? I don't. And use handheld GPS to avoid... Yeah, I don't think so. Maybe a drone overhead, too. Looking down with night vision. You forgot that part. Let's see. That's what I said a while ago. About if you think they're going to be driving around in four-wheelers, those things make a lot of noise. You know, that just doesn't make sense. Well, he could easily have a hair attached to his clothing somewhere from where he came from. Hair is easily transported around. And thanks, Karen, for the PayPal. But hey, guys, if you're watching the show, if you have the ability to help support my channel, if you want to help keep channels going, that would be great, like mine, who put out the factual information in cases and stick to that. That would be great. We currently struggled yesterday and struggling worse today. So if you guys have the ability to, that would be great. We need some gifted memberships. A challenge would be nice. Do you think they took Nancy back to their house? I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, you know, maybe they just had a vehicle that they would keep her in, or because once you take her out of the car, you'd have to do it at a time where nobody could see, or maybe you live in a place where you're sort of like there isn't a lot of people there, you know, like, you know, maybe over here, you know, this last house on the edge over here, something like that, you know, where there isn't really any people. In 10 years, this is all going to be filled with houses right here. I bet. Like this whole area here. We're going to fill this in, then over here, and over here. See, look at all those cars, you guys. Isn't that beautiful? All these nut jobs lined up on the street there just to get a glimpse of the driveway. Good stuff. That's what I was saying. Why the hell would he drive by on a four-wheeler? Yeah, I don't know. I think that would stick out. See, people come in here. There's a group of trolls that come in and they throw out like ludicrous ideas, knowing that I'm going to respond a certain way, and then they go, "See, you don't accept other," you know, and it's just such a crazy thing. I don't mind opinions in here that are well reasoned and thought out, not just some random, just blurting out stuff that really has no shot of reality, or if it is reality, it's 1 in a million, and you got lucky. You know, it's not like a, you know. So that's the thing, is just have it something that makes sense given all the information that we have. That's how you keep moving in the right direction. I don't know. I think they wanted to keep her alive. That doesn't make I don't know. That doesn't make that much sense there, Jason, based on the other stuff we've talked about. The gravesite was already prepped because they never intended returning it. That would be the nut job theory. That they'd have a grave already dug, bury her. They weren't going to get, you know, they needed to prove that she was alive. And then why send that second note if that's what they did? It seems like she died more, you know, kind of more naturally, and they didn't intend for that to happen, so they felt bad about it. Or they just want people to believe that's what they intended, and that's why they're sending the letters and stuff in the order that they're sending in, to make it seem like that's what happened, but that isn't what happened. You know, but I think it's more likely that that is. Jeez. I think saying like there's all-terrain vehicles pretty out there. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I'm just reading comments. Anyways, I want to do something else. We're just kind of rambling on about the same thing over and over. No, you said that before I asked the question, though, Space Cadets. It was after. You said that before I said that. So I was just merely commenting to a comment made before I said that. Who are you talking about? Which account are you talking about, Sandy? Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, I mean it's out there. Jason's is. I'm just giving you my opinion on it. I don't think that's likely unless you're doing the nut job theory. I mean, why would they dig a grave first and then have the sort of quote compassion later to say, hey, she died before we were even able to, like just after we abducted her. I don't know. I don't know the answer. This is like nobody knows the why completely. I just think it's a ransom gone wrong. I was more wanting to outside the box and trying to find the person, not just random, spirit box kind of stuff, Yeah, there was somebody named Stephen Big that got removed. Oh, that account. Yeah, you're talking about that guy. Is that the one you're talking about? Oh, yeah, he just created the account today, too. Good catch there, Lisa. Yeah, these people. That's why they bring him up. Yeah, that account just got set up today. Delphi case, you remind me 5 years the murderer got free outside of prison. That's too long. The guy called... Right, we already know that one, Davey. We've gone over that 1,000 times. Yes, I said on this show today that they should have solved it 2 weeks in. I said that. This isn't one of those. It's different. Mm-hmm. I'm just kind of feeling irritable. I don't know what it is. Yeah, we all know that Delphi it turned out they got the right guy, unless you're an idiot who doesn't think Richard Allen did it. But yeah, they got the right guy. He was convicted and given like 130 years in prison. You're going to keep going on with that one, Jason? Okay. Yeah, maybe. Right at the beginning, I was feeling kind of dizzy, you know. But the apple made me feel a little bit better. But it's also really stressful when you have nights like this, where you're doing a show and you're getting so little support that we always get in here, or used to anyways. It's brutal. 2 nights in a row of just brutal, you know, just sort of mental anguish. Do you think it was innocent? What do you mean it was innocent? What do you mean? Mm-hmm. Maybe you looked at a different account. Right. So Jason said the gravesite was determined and improvised soon after she passed then. Okay, like right after she passed, they made a gravesite. It would suggest they'd have to be incognito, going somewhere to hide the remains, undetected, when the news was out. Well, of course, you know. Maybe late at night they went and buried her somewhere. Maybe even that same night. You know, it's 2:30 in the morning, right? And let's say you're driving home and she sort of passes out and they realize she's dead in the car. Well, maybe they just continued to drive somewhere. You know, I don't know if they had a shovel with them already, but maybe they had to go get a shovel, dig a hole, put her in it, and call it a day. There's no way in hell they would bring her back into a house that they own or something. I didn't understand it the first time I read that. Yeah, I saw what you said, Chicken Wing. I just didn't know what you said. Do you guys think it was innocent, or is that is weird? What was innocent? Do you think what was innocent? Hey, look at that. We got the a 5 for 5er by Jim Lawn. That'd be a miracle for the way the day's going. But he's going to say, if 5 of you guys give one $5 membership, he'll donate 5 all by himself. All right? Not a weekend at Bernie's. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. So if you guys could please do Jim Lawn's challenge, it would at least get us somewhere tonight. It's been brutal. Do you guys see that? Nobody even put look at or anything like that. All right, there's Tracy Von Brott. There's one of them. Oh, look at that. We got Karen. She did one. Very cool. We just need 3 more now. Suspicious. What do you mean suspicious? What are you guys talking about? I feel this case is going the same way. They give us a little, then nothing for so long. But what were you saying when you said, do you guys think it was innocent, or is it that weird? What does that mean? That's what I'm trying to figure out. God, what are you guys talking about? Is this real? Oh, I see. You have this whole thing going on up here. Jesus. All right. Let me see. Where is this story? Okay, here we go. Hey, freaks, I have a question about something that happened to me and get y'all's opinion. Okay. And then where's the next part? And then the next part said, and then I got closer. I mean, that's the next part. There isn't a part in between that. It says, I have a question about something that happened to me and get y'all's opinion. Then the very next comment is Jim Lawn, LOL. Then after that, we've got nothing until, and then I got closer so I could hear him. He rolled down the passenger window, and that, see, there's whole thing is missing up there. So I'm not going to be able to do it. Anyways, you guys, we need 3 more gifted memberships to reach Jim Lawn's challenge. Is there any way we could do that tonight? That would be fantastic. Yeah, I don't think that has anything to do with it, Sandy. I just think, like, here, the way it works on YouTube, if you're covering, if there's a case going on, and you're covering it originally, you'll do well. But if you ever skip off of it and do something else for 2 or 3 days, you get absolutely crushed. They throw you at the bottom of the list. And that's just how it works. So, but yeah, you guys, we need 3 more gifted memberships in here to reach Jim's challenge. We're just trying to keep things rolling in before the end of the month. We're just, I don't know. It feels shitty to have to keep asking. This is how we make it here. There was a part missing, Karen. I tried to read it. It's missing. Okay, you deleted it, so how would I be able to figure it out? What do you mean the other person must be wrong then? I don't know what you're talking about. The other person. I mean, I'm sure it doesn't help if people are throwing cuss words in the chat, you know. But if YouTube doesn't delete it, then they didn't find anything wrong with it. Well, look at 6 Kids UK did it. You know, if Wild Bill Wassman was still awake, he would have done one. I guarantee it. But thank you so much there, 6 Kids UK. The challenge was reached, Jim Lawn. Can you believe it? Other than that, we were just sitting here twiddling the thumbs. Yeah, thank you so much. 6 Kids UK. Whose algorithm is changing? I mean, where is it changing? YouTube's changing something? I don't know. I don't know where that is. I get their little email, like things that they send out. I haven't seen that. Where people will ask for directions to get you close so they can rob you or worse. Oh, really? Oh, that sucks. I missed your whole setup to your story was deleted, so I wasn't able to read it. You know. So Jim, they reached your challenge. There you go, buddy. Thank you. Yeah, I haven't heard that either. Wow. Thank you, Chris O'Connell. A miracle. Oh, the trolls hate that one. You know that they're watching right now, and they're like, "Ah, crap! Chris O'Connell helped Gray out." Because, man, before that, just dead as a doornail. I mean, just really slow, other than we had 6 Kids UK a few times, and Wild Bill Wassman, Tracy Von Brott, Karen. She did a couple PayPals or whatever as well. Well, wow, thanks, Chris O'Connell. Love you too. Yeah, I don't want to be rude, but my husband was like, next time, just go inside. Really? And thank you, Jim Lawn. Very cool. Very cool. All right, thank you, guys. That's the part of the show that I wish I didn't have to worry about. You know, trying to bring in the funds so that the channel survives since there's no ad revenue anymore. And then we also are able to give some away at the end of the month too, you know? So that's how it's always been. And I always hate asking, you know? It's really stressful for me. It actually sort of interferes with my thinking on cases, you know? You can't trust people nowadays and feel safe. I don't know. I had thought of doing the Addison County Doe one tonight, but it seems like people want to talk about. There's the Guthrie case just has so much, you know, it feels weird right now, doesn't it? Doesn't it feel like something's coming? Like I've always thought about this. I thought it's strange about this case how little anybody is communicating with anybody. Sometimes it almost feels like they've had a name or something for a very long time, and they're really just trying to put the pieces together. You know those cases, like, for example, even Mercedes Vega case, you know? You know, the parents, I mean, I'll tell you what, now, for some reason, we didn't get to know about that she was about to testify. Had they told us that on those first shows, I would have said, that's exactly what happened. I would have said that. But we didn't know that. But, you know, like, they were frustrated. You know, a year and this and so forth go on. But the whole time, they are on it, you know. They are putting the pieces together. And then one day, boom, they make an arrest. So maybe it's something like that here. And they're just trying to get all the parts together, pieces together. I don't know. Hey, thanks up there, Chris O'Connell again. Yeah, I saw that. What do you guys think about that? I tried calling you a couple times today, Jason. You didn't answer. Let's see. She's not a sir, though. I don't think they... Wait, is there a different... What? I don't even get that. Oh, crap. That's awful, Chris O'Connell. But you're Chris O'Connell. I don't get it. I'm confused. Think they have anything? Well, I mean, this stuff that's being stirred up now, but I've said this before. I mean, when you listen to... you know, Nanos, he doesn't seem to, he always says that there's nothing going on, but those two different people in the media that seem to have sources have said that, but then Enton's source said no, you know, so which source is true? You know, the battle of the sources. That's okay. I don't want to keep do the phone calls on this one. Not very small. I'm 57. Yeah. I refer to herself in the third person because she was knighted by Jim. Oh, I didn't even know what any of that meant up there. Yeah, believe it or not, we got to, well, we're still, well, I guess if we add the earlier video that I made, 2 people sent in super chats. We are at, we still need about 13 channel memberships to reach the goal today. Or, almost the goal. They should have given an update to the public. I mean, yeah, wouldn't you think that they would give an update at some point? I mean, it's been 4 months since their last update. Almost 4.5 months. Or actually more than 4.5 months. I think their last press conference was on the 5th or 6th or something of February. I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, that's it? The other day I looked up one similar. Yeah, I've looked. Where was that one? What would we talk about if you called in? Not that one. Not that one. Not there. No. I don't see it. Darn it. The house I'm moving to isn't gonna be near the road. Any other similar crimes in the area? No, I looked up the other day. There was just a couple of cases of abduction that were, like, one was a businessman that got abducted from, I think it was Arizona, taken to Mexico. That was a little, nothing like her though. I think it was just her because her daughter was rich. They didn't really consider, like, oh wow, this might be. They thought it would be easy. They just didn't really maybe think about the danger to the victim because they're old. I don't know. What would a pull? Jeez, I don't know. But hey guys, we need 13 more gifted memberships to try to reach a goal. So if you have the ability to do that, that would be awesome. That's how far behind we were. If you notice, like, how much Chris O'Connell just did, and then Jim, and to say that we're still 13 short of the goal is pretty incredible, isn't it? And 6 kids did 3 even. Holy crap, look at that. Chris O'Connell again. She'll do 10 memberships if the freaks do 3, and that'll get us right at the number. How do you like that? So we just need, that means it's a 3-for-1er on you guys. So if you do 3 of you do 1 membership, she'll do 10. And there's one by Chicken Wing. All right, let's see. Well, let me get the. All right, we can do the call-in, I guess. Is it that one? Where the hell's the... There it is. I don't know. You can just call in. I don't know what the freaks want us to talk about, but we need 2 more of those, you guys. How about we do those before we do the call-in? Well, hell, there's Phyllis Watson. There we go. Phyllis Watson. Hey, thank you. Amazing. All right. Very cool. Awesome. Look at all the new members. 33 of them. So there you go. It looks like that was done. Crazy. All right, well, I got the phone then. So, and there's one by Karen777 and Chris O'Connell. Yeah, we have our donation night coming up in 2 days on the 30th. So, I was trying to kind of have a good, yesterday was terrible, but, maybe we can, let's just see how it goes. We have one more normal day and then donation night. And we're going to try to reach the $300,000 mark. Wouldn't that be amazing? After all that time to get to $300,000 that we've donated to true crime related charities. That would be awesome. And thanks everybody. Anybody who helped, tonight, we're still doing a show. So if you want to, you can still help out. But if not, thanks for everybody who did. So it'd be cool to get to 300,000. That's what we'll be doing. Right? Bam! Shove it up your asses, trolls, you stupid mother. You guys are so dumb. Yeah. It's everybody else who's the one that's doing it. No, I do the shows. People support my channel. I ad revenue, etc. Every single bit of money that comes in. Then we donate a big portion every month to charity. Usually about 30-something% of the gross income. Okay? That's how it works.
Call from
James, a.k.a. Jason Bourne.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going tonight?
Not too bad.
Looks like you got some freaks in the house.
Yeah, it was so depressing before, but hey, thanks for you guys jumping in late like that. That was cool. Yeah, that's happened a few times in the past, but yesterday wasn't one of those days. It was the same the whole time. Yeah.
Well, I can tell you got people on your side, people that like the quality of the work that you do, and I enjoy coming on here. I enjoy the calls, Gray. I look forward to them, actually.
Oh, yeah? Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like doing them. I mean, they're, it's kind of fun just bouncing off and thinking and,
So I really liked the video today that you did, actually, and I thought that there were quite a few comments on there.
Yeah, there was a few on there. It's just the view count is so bad, It's like it wasn't even I don't want to it's just the same thing every time now, though. But like 1,000 views after 3 hours or 4 hours is absolutely terrible. You should have like 5 minimum at that point, and then it might keep moving and then pick up. But I don't know. It's weird. It doesn't matter what I put out there. It doesn't crack into the algorithm. It's weird.
Well, normally I'd be responding in the chat right now, just getting the freaks all riled up. But since I'm talking to you, I don't want the freaks to think I'm ignoring you out there. But I do want to just compliment everything tonight that's been done so far. You guys have just been knocking it out of the park. And but, yeah, I can't do 2 things at one time. So if you see me out of the chat, you know why.
Yeah, somebody else is trying to call in right now at the same moment.
Yeah, well, I was ashamed because I wouldn't mind it if there was a different caller, but that's okay. I mean,
I wonder if we could do one where
I
we
can-
add them into the call, because it does let me do that. That'd be kind of. Oh, they just hung up. All right. Anyways,
that's too bad.
Yeah.
Well, whoever called in, try it again. We'll see if we can join it in.
Yeah, hold on. Let me see it. Chris O'Connell. That's main jail. Hold on. Or where's the other one? I don't know.
Tim's trying to call.
I don't know where the main. Yeah, where the hell is it? Jesus. Well, that one. No? Oh, here it is.
I can hear you.
We're at 298,612. So at the end of this month, we've already done 1,000 this month. So if I can do I'll do another minimum 1,400 at the end of the month. That'll get us to 300,000. So, hopefully I can do more. We'll see how it goes, but get it to 30,500 or something.
We're going to have to throw a party in here when you hit that number.
Oh, yeah. Who knows? People don't seem to care that
Party.
much. Like, nobody ever, like the people out there, they just troll and troll, but they never seem to give a shit that we've done such great stuff like that. They just, it doesn't matter to them. Like, every time we've solved a case with the money, like the DNA cases with the money that we've put in, it's never mentioned by any other YouTubers. They don't really, because they would never even come close to doing something like that. So they don't say it because it makes them look bad,
But the people in here who are your regular followers who know the quality of work that you do, they do know, they show how much they care by the fact that they, come in here and they help a lot. And so it's not that you're overlooked by everybody because you've got a fan following, and there's a reason why these people will tune in. Like, how many are watching right now? Over 200. So thank you to the 200 that are watching and listening. And yeah, we know Gray's the man when it comes to true crime.
Yeah, it's just YouTube doesn't. They send the same. I don't know what the hell it is, man. It's crazy. We nail it.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate part but I do hear what you're saying about that part. But getting to the case tonight. So watch the video, and so when we think about the Mary Coleman interview where she says that they received it Monday evening.
Mm-hmm.
That to me indicates then that time frame that had to arrive had to be somewhere between, presumably 6 and 12. Is that what you would think?
Well, I think it's out there that it was 5 o'clock.
Where did you see that at?
Let me see. I think it was in the shit. Where did Enton work? Where does he work at? What's that channel?
On News Nation.
Yeah, News Nation. I think. Let me see. When was the first Nancy Guthrie? It says the first ransom note in the Nancy Guthrie case was received by her family on Monday, February 2nd. Well, it wasn't really her family, but that's different. Let me type in, when did KOLD get the first ransom note? That's what we want. It says KOLD received the first ransom note for Nancy Guthrie at approximately 5 p.m. on Monday, February 2nd, 2026. And then I think I even put this on the show the other day. It's in News Nation. You scroll down, and then right here it says KOLD received the first ransom note at approximately 5 p.m. Monday. News director Jessica Babula told News Nation. The station sent it directly to investigators and did not report on it until authorities issued a joint statement. And that's probably why they sent it to TMZ, because TMZ would just put it out there regardless,
Right. I agree that they, so it made me think that the amount of checking that KOLD might do before they published that and went live with it would be different from TMZ, who would just run it right away.
Right, so maybe when they sent it to... I mean, we've already... You know what's funny is, like, this is stuff that we've talked about in here before. Because I've said... I kind of forgot that part, but I've said before in here that, you know, they probably sent it to KOLD or the news channels, but they just weren't getting enough... you know, they didn't know that they got it or not, so then they sent it to TMZ. Because they didn't hear the media... You know, KOLD did it responsibly, so they didn't know that they actually got it. So then they sent it to TMZ because they probably, you know, either they figured that TMZ, you'd immediately hear from that because it was a big case, or, you know, wanted it to be a bigger deal, you know, personally or something. You know, they wanted to watch it. I don't know, but...
Right. So that's interesting because, for example, there would have been two ways of handling it, and one of them would have been that, okay, we're going to send it over to KOLD, and we're just going to kick back and wait. But you could tell that they didn't want to do that. That within 12 hours, they were pumping it out to TMZ, which kind of shows that there's a level of urgency there, where they're like, we want to push this quickly. We don't want to sit back and wait and sit on our heels. Do you agree?
Yeah, I wonder if that was because that she was dead. And it's sort of in their mind, they sped things up a bit. Like, we got to get this going. You know, she's dead, man. You know, we got to... Yeah, I don't know. It's just... I mean, even though, like, when you're dead, it's like, well, how does that speed things up? But I could see your mind moving quicker like that, you know, because you're thinking, well, the fresher it is, the more likely they might just give us the ransom without proof or something. But I don't know. It's weird. I think it's just strange how it's, you know, what the meanings of various little things like that, the communication timing. But they definitely, see, they sent it at 5 o'clock, and at 6 o'clock, they're like, hey, how come we haven't heard anything yet? 7 o'clock, man.
6 o'clock news
10
just
o'clock,
happened. Right.
10 o'clock news,
Yeah.
nothing. They're not saying anything. And so they probably sent it out, and all we know is that TMZ got it in the morning. We don't know the time, but somebody's, you know, if you look it up, it also says that they got it at, so if I say in here, again, if I type in, what time did TMZ receive the first ransom note?
It was 11:45.
Hold on. It said TMZ received the first alleged ransom note. No, that's the second one. Or the second ransom... Wait. God. Now my brain. I had it... I can't remember what the 11:45 was now. I think that's the time that the second ransom note was received by KOLD. 11:40. Yeah, that is what that is. So this says, TMZ received the first alleged ransom note regarding the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie on Tuesday morning, February 3rd, 2026, around 12:12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Well, how is that morning then? Now, what are you guys talking about? Okay, you know, which was about an hour after a second Tucson television station received it. Oh, interesting. So KOLD was the main station for these people. You know what I mean?
Sure seems that way.
Because they got it both. They got that one first and the only one to get KOLD. I mean, to get the second one. So KOLD got the first one, and then it sounds like a Tucson station got it on the third also with TMZ, but an hour. They said about an hour after a Tucson television station received it.
And I looked all over to find out who that second station was, and I thought I may have seen like KGUN, but I'm not sure on that, but I could not find a story or even the anchors at that station who would have put out any information that they received it.
Let's see, what was the second local TV station to get the first ransom note? It's actually having auto-filled with that. Let's see. Okay, so
Hey, I
yeah,
can see
yeah,
the
it was.
comments in
It was
the chat.
KOLD
Thank you,
and
you
KG.
guys.
KOLD and KGUN.
It is, okay.
Okay, and then I'm going to say what time did KGUN get the first ransom note? It says the letter included. Nah, it doesn't say. Doesn't say that. But they got it apparently an hour before TMZ did, and so. But we don't know what time that is, right? It could be 2 in the morning. You know, that it came in, and then they got, so it's in the morning. I mean, I don't know what time.
Did you cut out, Gray?
No. You can't hear me? Uh-oh.
So, Gray, you may have cut out.
Testing 1, 2. I think you cut out. You guys could still hear him, right? Because I could. I'm not sure where he went. What did Phyllis say up there? She said, I'm surprised TMZ hasn't shown the actual note. Yeah, I think it's weird that they haven't shown that yet. Why wouldn't you at this point? Especially note number 2. Oh, it didn't actually drop, Jason. I think they could all hear you, and I could hear you. You just couldn't hear us.
Call from
Jim,
Oh, Jim. Hey, what's going on?
what's up, buddy? How are you?
Hey, if Jason calls back in, I should add him. See if we
Okay, yeah. Well, yeah, I've heard him flap his gums for hours and hours.
Yeah.
I'll drop off if you want to get him to call back.
Well, tell us about your. So you're walking along the pier.
Oh yeah. No, I was on the beach. Yeah.
Here, let me add this. Hold on.
call from.
Are you there?
Yep, can you hear me?
How about, is the other one there, Jim? Oh.
This is Jason.
Oh, okay. Well, Jim was on the phone too. I thought this was supposed to add it. Shit. It said to add it on there, so I hit your thing and it just sort of clicked his. Well, try it again, Jim. Try calling back in. I gotta see if I can get this thing to work.
That'd be great to have Jim on the call too at the same time.
Yeah, come on, Jim. Call in, man. Let's see if we can get that to work. For some reason,
Jim, call in. Jim, call in.
Yeah, he called in and he says, "You dropped me, dude." Well, I didn't mean to. I thought it was going to add the. Maybe it doesn't let you do that. Okay.
So, hey, I just want to say to freaks out there, you guys are just incredible. I love to come to this place. I look forward to it. I mean, I don't know what else to say other than thanks so much for making it such a great experience when I come here, and to just know that I'm here with the top true crimer, hanging out with the top true crimer.
That's what I'm talking about. Cool. Hey, Jim, call back. Try doing it again. Is it? They picture you in a tailored blue suit during the week when he goes to the office, but on the weekends, can picture him as a cabin wearing a long sleeve plaid shirt with jeans. That's what Chris O'Connell said. That's
really close. That's close. That's close. That's close.
There you go. Hey, Jim, we're supposed to try it out, man. Call in. He probably thinks I dissed him on purpose or something. Well, I just was trying to see where it... maybe I read it wrong on there.
And Tim, I think, tried to call in as well, and I don't know if he may be again.
Oh, you were the first one, Timothy Cecil, to call in?
I believe.
All right. Well, maybe I can... I'm not sure. Let me see if I go back. What happens if I call him?
Why not give it a try?
Okay, here he says, hold and accept. Okay, so I don't know what this is going to do. Let me try that one. Oh, yeah, hold and accept. So,
Call from
all right.
Mexican Tony.
All right. Okay, so you're on here, right? Now, let me see.
Yeah.
So what happens if somebody's on hold? I'm not sure how that works.
I know, this is Mexican. Vis-a-vis James Bond. What's up, Brian? How you doing, buddy?
It says you cannot have more than 2 calls at a time. Okay, well, where's the other one? I don't know.
Yeah, so my number is, my area code is 03, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I'm trying to figure out, like, why he disappeared. It doesn't, I guess apparently it doesn't allow you to.
Yeah, you can't patch him in.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
All
right, well, why don't you talk for a minute? I'm not sure if you can still hear me out there.
No, I can hear you. Can you guys hear me?
I can, but I don't think Jason Bourne can.
Yeah, I can't hear Jason. No.
Let me see what happens if I.
All right, well, yeah, no, I'll just keep it short and sweet, but it's so fun to hang out with you guys. You know, I like to stay type stupid shit in the chat, but Chris O'Connell, Raven, Allie Cake, Bill Wassman, Richard Watts, Paulette, Sandy, like the list goes on and on and on. And Allie Cake, and you know, I'm missing names, but it's just fun to hang out with the community. So I just wanted to say,
oh well, thanks.
What's up? And I'm happy to. It's a finite amount of people that are in this thing together, and we joke around, and it's fun to have fun. Sandy Shirley, who else? Kubi, KK, Zozo, like people that have been around forever. So.
Lisa Valenzuela, Missy Six.
Lisa Valenzuela, yeah, Paulette Lerner,
Paulette Leonard. Jessica Schubach.
Yeah, Plato. Yeah, Jessica
I haven't seen
Schubach.
Plato. I don't think Plato's been around for a long time. I don't know what the hell happened to her. But
yeah, I don't know what the hell happened to him. And who's that guy that was the line I forget his name.
Which one?
That used to work on like the power lines.
Oh, he worked. Yeah, that was Cairo. He did cell towers.
Yeah, Cairo. He was a cool guy.
He shows up every once in a while.
Yeah, who else? Bama Girl. I wouldn't know what happened to her.
Chicken Wings crying because you didn't mention her.
Chicken Wing, yeah. We love you, Wigger. Yeah.
She's got these big.
Jason Bourne.
She's got
Raven. Yeah.
She's got these big. She's got these big emojis that are crying.
Yeah, I'm trying to think who else. I mean, there's so many of us that are awesome that have been doing this together.
Hey, good night. Hey, Six Kids UK. Good night.
Six Kids UK.
She's new too. She's been around. She's been around.
Yeah. Okay. I know that. So, but yeah, no. I always type in dumb shit, but I'm just joking around. I really do care about these cases and.
So the lady you met on the beach, was that from like a World Cup deal or just somebody local?
Oh no. She just lives in Naples, so I just walked around and met her. Yeah, smoking hot.
Oh, good.
So we'll see what happens. Yeah.
Jesus.
We'll keep our fingers crossed, brother.
All right.
All right, dude. I'll let you
go,
know
what? We'll probably never see you again if that happens. You know?
Oh no, I'll still be around, dude. I've been around since COVID. Like I remember, that time that dentist killed in Aurora, Colorado. I went and drove up by his house and took pictures and sent it to you.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's been.
What other cases were?
Remember we had this guy named...
because it was on Hampton and Chambers, and it was
what case was that?
Which
one was that?
that dentist in Aurora, Colorado, where he like killed his wife. And his dental office is like a block away from
I kind of remember
the house that my buddy rented. Yeah, you remember that?
I remember like a dental. I don't remember it exactly though. I'd have to.
Yeah, it was just maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Yeah, this guy like killed his wife with prescription drugs.
Do you remember that? Remember that one kid? What was the one with in South Carolina? Well, I'm not sure if it was there, but the pastor who killed his wife. Jesus, what the hell was her name? But there was this one guy that was on the show that one time, and he was like chasing around the pastor in his car.
Yeah,
I remember that. I was actually picturing that.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, no, it was crazy. Yeah. But anyway, man, it's always fun, and you know, if I piss people off, I'm sorry about it, but it's just jokes. So
yeah, that's cool. No problem.
Yeah, in the chat, but no,
Greg,
we love you, dude.
Hey, I love you guys too.
Oh yeah, I remember. Yeah.
All right. Well,
all right,
cool.
I'll let somebody else call in, but I love all you guys. You guys take it easy. Have a good night. God bless.
Yeah, well, good luck with your...
Go Freaks.
Good luck out
with my new...
Keep us updated.
With my new Japanese.
Keep us updated.
I will.
Right,
I will, dude.
All right, see you later.
Catch some fish.
All right, see you
later.
All right, dude. Bye. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how to add somebody on there, Jason. So now you're going to have to call back in. Not sure what the deal is there. I thought I could add... It said to put you on hold. I guess you can only have somebody on hold and talk to somebody, but it's not like... You can't merge the calls on this. I don't know why. It seems kind of basic. Yeah, everybody loves you too, Jim. Look at that. Let's see. I haven't seen... Where's Jessica? There's Jessica's shoebox. I haven't seen it.
Call from
James, a.k.a. Jason Bourne.
All right, there you are. You're back in here. I guess you can only be put on hold. It's not a...
Yeah, but it was nice elevator music.
Oh, they played music in there? Oh, jeez.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, let me widen out my screen here. Very good. All right.
I actually thought of my own joke the other day, but I don't remember it. I remember thinking how, wow, it's a really stupid joke, but I thought of it, and then I can't remember it. Because it was like, you know, when you're just going to bed or waking up in the morning or something, and I'll remember tomorrow. And then you don't remember it.
I always love a good joke, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, I was just saying because Lisa Valenzuela put one in there. She said, what do you call a police officer that does the chalk at a crime scene? Tracy. Jeez. That's ridiculous.
I got to refresh after something like that. Hold on. Yeah, but I tapped into that second glazed donut while I was on hold. Oh, that was a good time.
I like old-fashioned donuts a lot. You know.
Well, this one wasn't like a Krispy Kreme kind of thing where it was uniform round all the way around. It was that crumpled up kind of donut that was glazed, if you know what I mean, kind of that broken up surface that looks kind of deep fried. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah. All right. Well, what else you got?
Well, so we were talking earlier tonight, and you raised the point that I seem to have concerns with the gravesite.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I think they buried her shortly after she died. I don't think they're going to be traveling around with her a lot, you know.
Yeah. So that would have meant that it was an improvised burial. Because, for example, if they hadn't suspected that she was going to die originally, this was just a planned out ransom where they're going to bring her to a holding location, and never intended on burying her anywhere, that now they're suddenly faced with the prospect of, oh my gosh, we have to find somewhere to put this woman because she's died on us. And that would be something that would come at them, you know, presumably if they hadn't thought of that consequence, didn't plan for it, that now they have to come up with this gravesite. And, well, that's kind of problematic, in my opinion, just because what it means is then they're now going to have to, if it's two people, they're going to have to join heads and say, well, where's a good place to put this person? And how far away are we going to take this person? And how do we know we're not going to be seen? And they have to go through all these things to go through their mind to even make a burial look, you know, disguised where no one's going to find it. All these things.
But it was improvised, right? It has to be improvised because they didn't intend to kill her anyways. You know, if you believe in the ransom gone wrong, they never intended for her to die. So no matter how, you know, that all took place, they would have to improvise the burial.
Right.
They would have to say, like, oh, man, we got to, you know, so, you know, did they, in the middle of the night, drive out in the desert? Did they, in the daytime, go into the desert and kind of just look around and see that nobody was around? I mean, in the, what was the name of that one case of the, it was in California, the McStay family case, I think 2009 or 10. You know, the business associate of the husband, one night, because he was scamming the family. Like, he was a coworker of the McStay. He was a coworker, and he, you know, would just sit there. He would build these water fountains, but he would use inferior material, but charge for the full, and he just kept taking money. And they finally, you know, so the guy figured out who he was, like, oh, yeah, you know, you've been stealing money from us, and he let him know. And then that night he drove over to the McStay family home. He went inside. They must have let him in. And then he used a hammer and bashed in. I mean, I don't know, he must have tied him up or something, but he bashed in the husband, the wife, and their two kids with a hammer. He smashed their brains in. Then he put them into, I mean, it's just the sickest shit you've ever heard, you know. And then he took their bodies, and what's interesting, though, is like he didn't, 2 days later, during the Super Bowl, is when he buried the bodies, like out in the desert somewhere. He drove out there, but I think he went out there. It's interesting. This is one of the best sleuthing things we ever did. This is before I had a YouTube channel, but I'd already been making YouTube video. I guess I'd already been making videos, but you know, when they found this motorcycle rider was driving in the desert and came across a skull, like we're talking years after, 3 or 4 years after they were murdered. Nobody knew where they were. They thought they went to Mexico. There was all kinds of shit like that. Like, oh, they went to Mexico. Look, they're right there, going over the border. But turns out this motorcycle rider came across the skull, and then they located some graves. Now, there was a helicopter that filmed down, but they never showed the road, and it was hard. You couldn't tell. But I knew generally where it was, and then just by looking at the pattern of bushes from the helicopter, I was able to track down, and then we found precisely where the graves are that they are at, because you can see them, you know, up above a helicopter pointing down at graves, right? But what was interesting is there was, I get chills thinking about this. It was so amazing. Like if you look at satellite footage, so you look at the recent satellite footage and you see that there were tracks leading to both graves still. And then people thought, oh, those are just law enforcement pulling in. So I went back to Google Earth prior to the time frame when before they were even found, and there's still tracks there. So that means these tracks were laid in mud, and they survived all those years. That means the killer, when he buried them, it was raining. So we went and did weather research and came up with a date around the time they were missing. We sent it to law enforcement, and they said, yes, we were able to verify your information. Thank you. Yeah, so we were able to find out that they were buried 2 days after they were murdered. So that was a pretty cool sleuthing moment for sure.
That's incredible.
It was amazing. It was freaking awesome.
And I was watching the chat, and Chris O'Connell.
Yeah.
said that one of the problems that we have with this improvised burial situation is that based on the heat, the body is going to decompose quickly, and there's going to be an odor that you are not going to want hanging around. So if you don't have a way of cooling that body or keeping it cool, then that means you're going to have to dispose of that very quickly to not create more problems for yourself. Which I'm just saying, what I'm thinking about is that if they're sitting around saying, well, where are we going to, because they wouldn't have planned for this at all. It would have caught them by surprise. Is someone calling in right now?
No, that was just my phone in the background.
They would have been thinking, well, we have to put it somewhere. And so they're left with this scenario where either they're at a remote place on private property where they somehow might think, and I'm just throwing out scenarios, where they somehow might think, oh, it's safe to put it here because this is private property and no one will ever come here to look because it is private property, so we'll just bury the body here. Or the only other scenario is they took it somewhere else. So if they did take it somewhere else, because I don't think it makes sense that they would bury it on the property just from a logical point of view. You're not going to bury it at the place where you were at because that's kind of incriminating. But if you wanted to take it somewhere, presumably you wouldn't take it far because you know that if that body is ever found and they go back and they look through footage and there's a person like yourself that likes to really dissect things and go back and look at this particular time, and they would have thought about that. They would have thought, well, if we go over here and we put it on the edge of this cliff, somebody's going to find her bones at the bottom, so we're going to have to bury it. And you'd have to go and make some precautions, take a shovel. It's going to be fairly involved unless you're just dumping off the body, which, what do you think? Do you think that they dumped her somewhere out in the open and she's just waiting to be found, or do you think that they buried her below the ground?
I think they did what they said they did. They buried her under the ground.
Buried with nature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think, if they were found, she'll be found somewhere if they didn't. And then, obviously they probably don't care if they were lying or not. But I don't know if you can see the screen here, but I wanted to show this. Look how interesting. Can you see the screen?
I can see it, yep.
Yeah. So look at this. So you can even still see the tracks. So you look at see in the ground right there, there's these, you might be on delay though, I don't know, but there's these little tracks in the ground, and then there's grave B and A. They're right there, but this is 2015. They were found on November 13th, 2013. So this is March of 2013. Look, there's the track there, right there, and right there. And then we were even able to go back and find them in like 2012. See, this is 2009, but they didn't have March of 2013. Before the bodies were discovered, those tracks are still there. So that means that it was raining. And then I just remembered it was the 6th of February, which is kind of interesting. It's the same time of year or whatever, but it's like February of 2013. On the 6th, it rained, and that was the only time it rained anywhere around that time frame. So that means whenever the graves were dug, it was raining. And I would think, in this case, I bet you, because they died on the 4th, not the 2nd. So they were killed on the 4th. So maybe on the 5th, he drove out there all by himself, and he dug 2 graves. See, this is how he would have done it. So maybe, some relevance to this one. So on the 5th or so, he drives out there and he digs graves. And you wouldn't want the bodies with you when he's digging the graves. He had a storage unit that he probably put their bodies in. And so he goes out there and digs the graves so that if anybody showed up and said, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Oh, I'm just mining," because that's what they do out there. They mine. There's people that dig and try to find gold. So he could just say that while he's digging these holes. But when nobody showed up, he just, left the holes there. And then the next day during, I think it was the Super Bowl, it was pouring rain. He goes out there and he throws their bodies into the graves and then buries them and then drives away, leaving the muddy tire tracks there. And then they stayed there, and they're still there. Like, I don't know if they're still there even now. Like, you go to, well, hell, that looks way different, but let's see. It looks like they got rid of the, that's interesting. Yeah, it looks totally different. Look at this little heart thing right there. They got rid of the grave thing that they put there. Look. Because see, in 2018, there's still this little square with 4 crosses on it. But apparently, it's been removed since then. And now there's this big... What does that say? It says something like Hun, or... I don't know, it's weird. There's a heart on the ground. I wonder what that's made of. That was from 2022. But anyways,
so
anyways, that was a crazy one. But I was just trying to bring that up. I mean, it was a crazy. That was a really interesting case to follow and all that. And he was found guilty, and I don't think he's. I don't remember if he got the death penalty or not. I can't remember. But maybe it was something like that, where they had her for a little bit of time and planned it out a little bit more methodically. Went out and dug a hole somewhere and had her sort of hidden, at their house. Nobody's going to know who the hell they are or whatever. You could just keep her in the car. And then the next day, maybe on the 2nd or the 3rd, they buried her body or something in the middle of the night. And then that was it. And on the 5th, wrote their note. Maybe it was the 4th that they buried her body. You don't get the decomposition odor for, it doesn't happen like the same day or something, or even the next day. Really,
I agree with you, and unless they're directly exposed to heat, maybe, and then it might be different. And even then, I don't know for sure if there would be a smell of decay within 24 hours if they were exposed out in the desert. I don't know, but following what Chris O'Connell said earlier. What she said earlier was, based on this odor, that if you were getting rid of the body, you probably wouldn't want to leave it exposed up on the surface. You would want to bury it so that odor wouldn't be floating around, attracting animals, and, which eventually could attract humans. And so it just makes sense to me that it probably wasn't too far away from where they held her at for the holding location, because why are they going to drive a long distance with the body in the car? And they'd already be paranoid enough, because this wasn't something they had planned on. They never planned on, presumably if we're going with the ransom went wrong, so that they, never thought that she was going to die. Just thought we'd have her at this holding location for a little while and bring her somewhere and drop her off. But I don't even necessarily know that is true, in my opinion, just because that it assumes that they were going to do the right thing, whereby that if a payment was made, that the family would get Nancy back. And I don't know that was necessarily true. In other words, they could have baited the family in to pay and then just never gave the body back.
Yeah, but I think the second ransom note speaks against that. Why? Because if that really was your plan, why do you give a shit? I mean, the second ransom note is actually, I think, is a clue in the case for law enforcement of what type of, for the profilers, because The thing is I think if what you're saying is, oh, they were just going to kill him anyways, and blah, you know, that if you're that kind of a person, you just would have, like, as soon as you realize that you're not going to get any money, you would just bury her and cut bait and go somewhere else. If you wouldn't send a second note, not demanding anything or anything, but more of a like, wow, you know, and we didn't mean to harm her or hurt her. That wasn't our intent to hurt her, except they did, you know. But I mean, I don't know. I think the second ransom note is a counter to what you just said. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Because then you have to come up with all like, oh, that one was planned to, you know. And then, you know, here's the thing: is to make the nut job, because then they're the nut jobs. So to make the nut job theories work now, we have to put way more speculation into their motives and how they think than we do with the ransom gone wrong. You notice that? Now ransom gone wrong is really easy to make work with the...
However, that when we originally were looking at this before, what we knew more of the content of the letters, that we were actually more inclined to think that one person had done this.
Yeah, before...
And I'm,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm still inclined to think that one person could do this ransom.
Well, you could.
And
yeah, you could. I'm just saying,
then,
what's more likely now, though? You know, that's the...
Well, there's different ways that you can look at it. For example, if there's nobody that has came forth and done anything in the amount of time that we're talking about, someone could make the argument, well, that's because it was just one person, so they could keep a secret. Because if it was two people, it would have been, you know, different. I don't know if that necessarily would be true or hold water. I'm just saying that if you knew one person could keep the secret, you know, in theory, more easily than two people.
Yeah, except unless you're like a couple or something, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think both people are involved, so they're not going to tell on the other person. You know, and they're probably, maybe they're either, you know, I mean, if they're best friends or something like that, then there's a chance at some point, if one of them gets caught first, they would turn on the other one. But I think if they're like a couple, I don't know, I keep thinking it's like a girlfriend-boyfriend. A girlfriend driving the vehicle, and she's the one that had the heart to say, hey, I need you to let's just send one more message. You know, we didn't mean to do this. And, you know, but at least she's buried in a nice place, but we're never going to tell them, and we're going to we're going to take off, you know. That's what it feels like to me at this point. I mean, I could be tricked. We was a joke. That wasn't real. The second ransom note was all fake. You know, the nut job theory, that's what we were kind of thinking they were trying to do, is get a rise out of everybody each time, you know, with every communication. They liked watching it, but what did they really... The second one, how about this for being interesting? They already knew when they sent the ransom note number 1 to KOLD that they didn't tell a soul that they knew of. Nobody heard anything. They only came forward after the press conference. So then why would you send it to them, the second one, knowing that it wasn't going to make it out there? You know, because the second one was the 5th, and I don't know if, yeah, I mean, so the thing is, they sent it there knowing it's not going to be public. So then you'd say, well, that one then wasn't meant to stir up anything or to have this big, you know, sort of something to watch on in the media, etc. It was sent for whatever it was written on the second note, you know, maybe to actually make Savannah feel better that they didn't send it in and it wouldn't have helped. And say that they didn't mean to. It wasn't like we went there to kill, but she died accidentally. Or she died, not accidentally, but she died from the, you know, whatever issue she had physically. See? I know you're always going to have something to say back, and et cetera. But I'm just trying to say.
Well, that's the way that we do things, though. Here.
Yeah.
Is that, I mean, seriously, when I think about the fact that with the greatest probability is that she was already passed when they wrote the ransom letter. And they had to so originally when they were thinking, okay, we're going to prepare the ransom letter, and before they actually, even maybe before they had abducted Nancy, they had pre-wrote the ransom letter, just in theory. And so that this would make it very easy then you just make a couple modifications and get it out there, which one of them would be proof of life that you would want to put in there. And since that was not in there at all, possibly because she died, they thought, okay, well, we have to revise this letter in such a way as to now we can't put in the proof of life anymore because she's not here. We can't get the information in there that we need, which would be like the special phrase, for example, that only her children would know and recognize. It could be something from early childhood, special memory that they had, where the mother would say a certain phrase and the kids would know, oh, we know what mom means when she said that. Something very, very specific that, the family only... Just have a little phrase like that, but it was missing. Go ahead, Gray. Go ahead.
Well, no, I'm just saying you're kind of going down. We already sort of talked about that during the show. I just think like when we bring up stuff like, yeah, sure, that's like if they had thought of that, right? But we don't know that they thought of something like that. They might have been thinking, I'm not sure how they were planning on it, but even Savannah and them never asked for something like that. They were like, hey, we know, remember that, how they mentioned AI? We know you can trick something, so, they need some actual proof. So maybe in some ways that was asking for, have her tell you something. But because they didn't get any of that, that just means she passed away early, So even in what you're saying there, they didn't get that. So she passed away early. And they just threw the first letter out there to try to get something, hoping, on that they just send the money in without any proof of something. And then they never got proof. But then 3 or 4 days later, after seeing all of these different videos that Savannah was putting out, maybe it touched one of them a little bit to say, hey, she's not alive, but nobody... We didn't intend to hurt her or anything, and you couldn't have done anything. It just seems like that's more likely than anything else, just saying. And we can sit here and come up with a million different, what if this and what if that, but it doesn't seem like, I don't know, just, all I can say is it's like, the nut job theory is, it's still not impossible. It's not even... I guess the thing is knowing what's on the ransom notes has added a lot of weight to my original theory, which was ransom. Well, my original theory was maybe there was family members involved, like right off the get-go, because that's what you would think when an old person dies. They don't normally die, so you think somebody's trying to benefit from it. But then, within a day or two, I switched to ransom. I think I had a ransom for hire at one point too, like a murder for hire to made look like a ransom. That one was sort of an interesting one. But then there was a time where I just sort of settled in on a ransom gone wrong, and then there was just a show where I was talking about nut job, and then I had to convince you that. Nutjob actually makes some sense because it takes away all the different stories. And then it came down, and then it's like, but I still said, even then I go, it's either a ransom gone wrong or a crazy nutjob. Okay, but then it's hard to have a nutjob theory like a nutjob theory with two people. See, if you have two people, then it's likely not the nutjob story. So that would mean that killing Nancy likely wasn't part of the story, like extremely likely, that it was, they literally were trying to do a ransom for money, and then it just didn't she died. So they weren't able to prove that she was alive. They maybe didn't even have time to ask questions. You know, they were just going to get her somewhere and ask questions, but she was probably already way downhill. I mean, imagine the trauma she felt on the drive to wherever they were going. You know, I mean, she probably, you know, maybe didn't even make it to the place that they were going, and they never got to ask those questions. And so then it was just all improvised at that point, burying her somewhere. But it wouldn't be difficult given where they live, right? I mean, you just drive out 50 miles somewhere and there's nothing. That's the thing.
Okay, all right.
I mean, you could.
Yeah,
At 3 in the morning. But it could just be somewhere close to, you know, it doesn't have to be 50 miles away. It could be 4 miles away, you know.
Well, one thing that we could say is that there were some honest things that were in that first ransom note. For example, if there were verifiers in there that led the police and the family to believe that, okay, this ransom note is credible, then that meant that there were certain things in there that were truthful, or at least led them to believe that the people who, you know, were making the statements had seen things in there and could speak truthfully as to the way that it was. In other words, if an Apple Watch happened to be positioned at the foot of the bed, that they were speaking truthfully about the position where that was.
Yeah, like it was on the floor.
So in that case, So in that case, you know, and that isn't to say, and I think it's been alluded to, that there were other identifiers that were provided as well, not just that. So, but those things indicate that there obviously were some truths that were detected and proven in there, but that also there would have been some falsehoods if she was already passed away. Because on one hand, you're indicating, okay, here's proof that we were inside the home and it was us, that we're the ones that went in there. But at the other side of the coin, you don't provide any proof of life. And I just find that to be very strange.
Well, that's $4 million. Well, it's not strange. It just means that she died before that. See, that's the thing, is they said she died. It doesn't say immediately, but like what was the actual term? Let me see.
Shortly afterwards.
Shortly after. Yeah, it's like, so that means it was just really soon. So they had that stuff. They can tell it. They can tell, hey, we were there. This is what she was wearing. You know, she, you know, blah 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 blah. You can go through the whole thing, and they were hoping that was enough. You know, like, okay, we believe these are the kidnappers. Let's send the money, because she's not alive anymore to get that crucial bit of information. See, that is sort of an interesting way to look at it, that she died so early on that they weren't even able to get the. So what did you call Savannah when she was a kid?
Right.
Well, little whippersnapper. Oh, there you go. Look, you know. And so you have, you know, he had, you know, some even more, maybe 3 or 4 different things you could put in there. And then that would have been a certainty. But it was, now they just know that they're likely the kidnapper, but we need to prove that she's alive or there's no deal. And they weren't able to do that, but they hoped that having half of the equation might lead to some money, you know. And it didn't work. And then I think Savannah put out, you know, at least the first, I'm not sure when her first Instagram was, but I'm sure it was after the first ransom note. And so it was like, you know, Instagram post, and remember, it was just her and her brother and sister, similar to the one where she kind of acknowledges that they know that her mother isn't alive anymore. But I think that's what they're responding to, is that Instagram where they're, really, talking. And it's interesting because the FBI is correct. They knew that they would be watching those, just like like this other guy's been watching Harvey all the time and getting, and following up on stuff. And it seems like they watched that Instagram, and then, one of them at least maybe felt something, just to give a little comfort, and also sort of cover them a little bit by saying, we didn't intend to do this. So if you ever do catch us, just realize we didn't intend to kill her. She just died from her heart issues. I mean, that's what makes the most sense to me, that whole thing that I just said. I mean, it just, now that all the little parts are out there, you'd have to come up with just a diabolical person that could be, put we in there intentionally to throw people off, which isn't really like a genius move or anything, but you could put that in there. But, the second ransom note is really the thing that has no explanation, really, other than what it means when you read it. It's like, why would you even bother with that? She died, bury her, get the hell out of Dodge, But they really kind of, it was an apology, sort of, like a half-assed one, but it was there. Anyways.
Yeah,
that's just what it feels like.
And I get how it feels, and it's very possible that there was some type of, guilt on the other side. But here's the thing that's interesting is so that when the term "we" is used, and let's really say that it's true. Let's go along with, instead of trying to falsify "we," let's go ahead and say that "we" is true. So then if you think, okay, well, let's just hypothetically say it's two people, and they are now having to compose ransom letters that are different than what they expected because they now have somebody who has passed away. And so they decide between themselves, for whatever reason, that instead of one person saying, well, listen, I'll be the fall guy, I don't really need to put a we in here because if I do, I'm going to implicate you. I'm going to incriminate you if I put you in here. If I say we, I'm going to include you. And so if it was a relationship that was really strong, say like a husband and wife or two brothers, that then they would, maybe somebody would want to be the fall guy, like a husband and wife where the husband will say, listen, I'll be the fall guy here. I'll just say, let's just say I, and that will mask the fact that you were present.
Yeah, I don't know. They probably just, maybe, they're just, it's like a shared risk thing. They're just kind of like we, maybe trying to make it seem like they're an organization. We did this, I don't know. I mean, see, I think it just seems like that'd be a weird thing to think, okay, I'm not going to say we, I'm going to say I. But see, what that does, though, is I don't think somebody would want to just be the fall guy. In a case like this, when she wasn't alive and they wrote the first one, she's dead. Now you're going to take the fall. Maybe one of them was the main person who convinced the other one. But maybe, though, to make sure that the other one doesn't say anything, you say we. Because even if you are the main one, you're going to, you never know, so you're going to say we in there. And that way the other person doesn't have an out. Like they said I, and I'm not the I, it's that guy. Hey, cut me a deal,
So I'm trying to think about that type of conversation just hypothetically occurring between a husband and wife. And if that was brought up that way, one of them is going to look at the other and say, well, there's distrust between us because you don't trust me that you have to, put this out there. You have to,
I don't know.
Make me share responsibility, even though it's not necessary that I do that. You want me. It shows that somebody is not willing to sacrifice, and instead, now I like what your point was, and I agree with it in the sense that what you're saying is that the two people are there, and they're saying, well, we're sharing the responsibility. If you tell on me, I'll tell on you. So if it's both of us whose necks are sticking out there, then this is going to kind of protect myself in this situation. which makes complete sense if it was more of a loose kind of a relationship, not a real tight one, because then you're going to want to protect yourself because you can't fully trust who you're working with.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that could just be naturally just typed we in. It's like maybe that's a little overthinking it a little bit. Like that level of, well, when they wrote it, he should have said I and been more valiant. I'm the one, and then the other person they're not part of it. I don't know. I just, they probably were just writing quickly, and I don't know. I just think that's a little overthinking a little bit on that. To me,
it could.
But you could be like, if it is true with what you said. I mean, it was crossing my mind. Okay, if somebody, of the two scenarios, likelihood of saying I, that would be more of a couple that were together than two, guys that, maybe worked together and said, hey, let's do this, pull this job off. They're going to have a we in there because, they want to each share the responsibility. But if it's like a boyfriend-girlfriend situation, maybe it'd be more likely, but I'm not even sure what the number is. Like I would say, 1 in 10 might switch it over to I, but maybe 0 with the friends. So 1 in 10 might switch it to I if they were a relationship, but no chance with two people that are just friends. So it's kind of like there's really low odds, that they would do.
I could, in a husband and wife, I'm just saying, I could see a situation happening where maybe the wife was saying, I didn't know she was going to die. You just wanted me to be the getaway driver. I didn't go in the house, and you want to put we in the letter? Like I was part of this whole thing, and all I did was drive the vehicle, and no, I don't want you to put my name in there.
Well, it wasn't
kind
though.
of thing.
It was just we. It was just we. They're not expecting to get
my
caught.
name.
They're not expecting to get
you.
caught. Yeah, so I'm just saying nobody's name was given up. It's just we, implicating there was more than one person. It could have been 8. Nobody knows. I mean, I don't think there was 8, but I mean, saying we doesn't mean, Bonnie of the Clyde. It just means it could be anybody. That's what I'm saying.
Well, I do think that, the show that you put out there today was excellent because, in my opinion, you were coming out saying that you thought that she either died right around the time that first note went out or that she was already passed away beforehand. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think those are great points to make because I'll be straightforward that I haven't heard that really anywhere else where someone came out and actually said that, and they almost seemed like the other people wanted to elongate it and make it sound that as if when that first letter came out that was an indication that she was still alive, that we could negotiate these terms out here. You give us the money and we'll get Nancy back to you, when in fact Nancy was never coming back alive because Nancy was already gone.
Yeah.
And so, you making that point, I think, it just really drove home the fact that, this was a kind of a quick situation where I think they got forced into it and they didn't know that it was coming.
Yeah, I mean, so like you could look at it like first of all, they said shortly afterwards, but had she survived, let's say she was still alive when they wrote the first ransom note, and the first note was just to get the attention of people and, hey, we're legit, because we just told you things that only the abductor would know. And then by the time they got the response saying, hey, send us some proof, she was dead. So you could have that little window there. They didn't add that into the first one because that's part of the sort of negotiation. We're here. They could have put it all in one, of course. Like, hey, here's the proof that we were there. Her watch was on the ground at the foot of the bed. Okay, great. Now, she also told us that the nicknames of so-and-so, da-da-da-da, and then, boom, you're right at the money stage. It could have been. But for me, they said shortly after, and because they never gave any proof of life that she probably died before the letter was written. That's what it seems like.
And that makes sense. That makes sense. I mean, it really does when you think about it, because of the way that it was composed, that they would have known up front that somebody was going to come back and say, well, you didn't give us any proof of life and you want $4 million. Give us proof of life. They would have known that that was going to come back. So they were forced to write out a hasty, either revised ransom or improvised ransom, now that they didn't have what they expected that they were going to have, which was somebody who was alive that they would get information from. And that's the other thing that strikes me too, and that is so that if you wanted this to go down quick and you thought, okay, we don't want her here long, we don't want to take care of her for long, we want this to be done and over with, then what you're going to do is you're going to get her back to your holding place quickly, and you're going to say, tell us information right now that is going to identify that you're alive. We need a phrase, blah, 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 and they'd get that information from her, and they would immediately get the letter out. Immediately, because they want to get it over with. They're like, let's get this over with, let's get it out there. But instead, we're looking at a close to a 40-hour delay that it took for them to get that first letter out there, and that implies that they got taken by surprise. They didn't have, they couldn't get it out really quick because now they're in a jam. Now they can't get the information in, so now they have to try something different, which is, perhaps not what they originally planned. So there's the stall period, like, well, what are we going to do now? We're going to have to put something out there that sounds persuasive and convincing. And, I mean, to me it sounds really tricky, because when they say something like, listen, either you pay us by this date, or that if you don't, then by this date, it's going to increase. Well, that's almost like saying, well, Nancy's still alive, and because by this later date, if we put it out there, we're basically telling you that she's still alive at that time, or we expect her to be alive, and that's why we're able to give you a date in the future, which we would never give if she was actually dead, and we wanted you to think that she was dead, that, we just wouldn't stick that date way out there in the future. Mm-hmm. So it just sounds kind of, that they knew they were in a jam.
You should have seen somebody in the comments under the video said, I think it's disgusting that you are theorizing that she's dead, and went on, like, and I mean, Savannah even knows, I mean, everybody knows she's not alive right now. If she turns out alive, it'll be the 7 wonders of the world. It's like, it'll be incredible. I'll dance around, I'll eat crow, I'll cook up one. It's not even, I wouldn't eat crow because it's not like I'm saying something that isn't. I mean, this is just like, to me, it's really obvious that she's not alive right now. It's like 4.5 months later, and you think she's just chilling out somewhere. They're holding her. That doesn't make any sense.
I don't agree, and even for the level of care that you would need to have somebody for 30 hours in your possession, obviously to keep this person alive, if that was really your goal, in that period of time, you'd have to feed them, give them water, let them have access to a bathroom.
Yeah, heart medicine. She'd need heart medicine the last 4.5 months. So, anyways, these idiots were, it's like I think they're just trolls that show up trying to, and I don't know, it's just frustrating. Anyways, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I kept thinking of that, and I wanted to say it.
Well, I think really that essentially we agree. I'm hesitant to really fully trust the second letter as far as verbatim to everything that it says.
Yeah,
but I also know that there were some things that were in the first letter that must have been verifiable as true.
I bet they freaked out too when they, like Chris O'Connell said, and Like when she died, like, man, what the hell? They probably weren't ready for that at all. You know what I mean?
No, and it would have totally changed the plan, and now we have to come up with somewhere that we're going to take her, and all the stress of wondering whether you're going to get caught. It almost strikes me of that the fact that they didn't get caught, of taking her anywhere, that they were familiar with the area.
Mm-hmm.
Because it would be a mistake to take. I mean, I know that desert's so huge out there, so that you wouldn't necessarily have to know things really well to know where to take someone. But
yeah,
they definitely got behind the eight ball because they were not. And I mean, if we go along with the fact that they really. I mean, because there's the other possibility is that they could have said, well, we're going to make her think that we're going to give her back, and we never, like, I don't know. That would mean that they'd have to let her die to have that type of outcome, and I don't know that would necessarily be the case, but, you know, they certainly wanted other people to believe that she was alive, that's for sure.
Yeah. What did they say? Sandy.
They said more gift memberships by Chris O'Connell.
Chris O'Connell. Come on, man. You got to say.
I can't.
You say it so like it's just. it's not like the way I say it. Okay.
No, it's not even close, Gray.
You go like this, Chris O'Connell, like some goofball, you know. But I try to do it like a radio, like Chris O'Connell, like that.
Yeah, you do it like the guy that the OK Corral would have done it, you know, like.
Yeah. or just some sort of like a sporting event, Chris O'Connell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would need to really practice that a little bit because the Gray voice just cannot be duplicated easily, in my opinion.
That's right.
But yeah, it was good talk tonight, and I personally think that, you know, I think we have reached a pretty definitive conclusion that she was gone before that first letter was sent out. And
I'm about 70%. What is your percentage on the ransom gone wrong versus the nut job?
I'm going to have to lean more toward the ransom gone wrong, but not put a lot of weight on it, me personally. So, 60%. I would give
that's about
to
where I
the
was.
ransom gone wrong.
I'm like 60, 40, 70, 30, something like that, you know. But you still have that, you know, because somebody, we've only got an image of one person, and one person could do every single thing that's happened in the case. So it's not like, you know, we've already worked through all the scenarios, so one person could do it. And so it makes it so that you can't rule that one out, you know. And all there is evidence of one person. That's all we see, except for the circumstantial evidence is we.
Yeah, and for me, it all hinges on a single piece of evidence, which is the radio receiver. Because if for an instance that we said to ourselves, well, that doesn't look like a walkie-talkie, that actually looks like a scanner.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then it becomes very easy to say at that point that it was a solo person who wanted to make it look like a group thing, so that it looked like there was pressure, like some big organization behind, you know, this one little man behind the curtain kind of thing, this one-man operation. You know, make people feel like, my gosh, we better do something. They've got many captors holding her, and this is a dangerous situation. But you know what I mean? But I still lean more toward the 60-40 and but I still think that one person, there you go, popping it up on the screen.
Well, see, that's a scanner. That's a scanner, though. See, but that's $700, and that does, you know, like that shape there. You know, I could see it just looks thinner than I would think, though. I mean, when you look at the image, this guy's, let's see, and he's like right Let's see. I just got to get the right. Yeah, right there. See, that looks like a fatter thing, and also the bottom of it, right? Like the scanner portion would be down here, and if you look at something like that, look how long that is. It wouldn't fit.
It's long, yeah.
Yeah, see that even so all you would be seeing, if that is true, would be this portion up here to have it that big. And that means, so where the hell's the rest of the walkie-talkie, you know? Is it, you know, it's got to be in this pocket here. So that doesn't, I mean, not the walkie-talkie, the scanner that I'm looking at. It wouldn't fit in there because that's not, it's too short of an antenna. So there's a couple of the, walkie-talkie that you can, let's see. Yeah, like these are perfect. Look at these kind, like that. Not maybe not that one. Man, that's pretty close though. You know, something that kind of, I'm not sure if that's a cylinder, but you know, maybe that is what that one is, right? But see how that the antenna is shorter. Now this one though doesn't. It seems like the body's too long. In this case, but you know, you go around and there's a whole bunch of them out there that, you know, like some of these. I think you need sort of a shorter antenna. You know, medium. Like the antenna is the same length as the unit itself. So who knows? He probably bought a really cheap one though. There's no way he's buying a $700 scanner, in my opinion.
Well, and so I think it was Raven that brought up that, you know, the idea of that. Okay, so if we went with the scanner, and you're thinking, okay, well, the reason why we have the scanner is so that we can listen to any incoming police, you know, activity. That
could be an individual.
Right, but the fact that, so you're walking around with this thing that supposedly is making noise, you know, 24/7.
Right. That's what doesn't make sense. Like you're walking around, because the only way, I even said that on a show, I said, if you have a scanner in your pocket, the only value it would have is if you're listening to it as you're moving around to know that somebody might be coming or not. So he either would have to have headset, but we don't see the the headset. And so he'd have to have it on and listening to it the entire time, right? But a walkie-talkie makes the most sense because you would say, I'll let you know when I'm ready. Don't, click in, like that little, you click the button, it makes that little.
Don't squelch.
Yeah, don't do any of that. I'll do it. When you hear from me, you'll hear from me. That's when you move the car. Don't touch your walkie-talkie. Like that, right?
Just so you don't get any disturbance.
Mm-hmm. So the walkie-talkie makes, it looks more like a walkie-talkie antenna than any of the other things that people talk about, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I guess apparently it could be pliers, though, because that's what was said earlier. Now, go ahead.
But everything does hinge on, like when we think about the we and everything, and we say, okay, well, this is supporting evidence to the fact that it goes with the walkie-talkie, but really everything hinges on the walkie-talkie as far as it being two people then, because as soon as you say that, well, we don't know for sure, and we can't definitively say that, but I know that with the scanner, then, and I think, couldn't a person, if you had the sophisticated enough scanner, could it just be earbuds that you would have in?
Yeah, it could have earbuds. Maybe they're underneath his balaclava,
The other thing, too, I was thinking is that, so in theory, if you came back and you were by the stone wall in the back and you thought, okay, I've been watching the place and I've been listening to my
lights
scanner.
Have turned on, yeah.
And I don't hear anything on the scanner now. And so, I can turn this in the off position for a moment while I'm in the backyard. So there's no noise that comes through, nothing like that. Then once I get inside the house and I have her secured, then I can turn the scanner back on and listen because I don't have to worry about anything at that point. But you certainly wouldn't want that noise coming on before you had her secured in the house.
Yeah.
Because it would be alerting her.
I just think the you know, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to, like we said before, you know, if that is a walkie-talkie, then there certainly is another person in the area, and that likely then becomes the guy driving the vehicle or a girl driving the vehicle, who knows, and pulls the car up right when they're supposed to, minimizing the time. They also served as a lookout during the entire time that they're in the home. That makes a hell of a lot more sense. The case, it makes it a lot easier to pull off. You know, it's not difficult by yourself, by the way. It's not like, but it's way easier in terms of getting away with it smoothly at that time. Now, you might say, well, a second person might tell somebody at some point, but I'm just talking about at that time, it does make it a lot easier because you have a lookout, and if you have a walkie-talkie, then they can, at any time, interrupt what the hell is going on. Hey, somebody's pulling up. Boom, you're out that back door and you're gone. And then when they're at the end, they're just pulling the car up right in front of the house because you're saying, hey, let's pull the car up. And then they, pull the car up and then you get Nancy out and you're gone within like 3 minutes or something, instead of having the car sitting there for 10, 15 minutes. But we came up with a smaller theory where, he tied her up. And see how complicated it starts getting? Like you tie her up and then you go out and get the car, then you drive it back, then you have to untie her up to have her be able to walk out, and, it gets way more complicated. The other one's just great. You have a gun on her, get her out the front door, car's there, put her in it, gone.
It's true. I mean, logistically speaking, it is the more simpler way. For sure, it's the more fail-safe way. You've got a lookout always while you're in there with a walkie-talkie on you. So at any time, if your lookout sees anything, they can tell you long before it gets to that house. Mm-hmm. And that's a big advantage. So if you saw lights coming down that road at night, you could tell that person in the house, or even just have a signal, like squelch, squelch twice. And that means that there's somebody coming down the road, Mm-hmm. And that right there would then let you know that it could be the police. Presumably, though, that if they had a scanner as well in the getaway vehicle, that then you would not only be able to, know what the activity was with police that night, so you knew nothing had been tipped off, but you were also able to notify that person on the fly, or basically not notify them because they knew everything was kosher, so you don't really need to say anything. But yeah, I agree. It makes sense that the two people, it would be easier to do. The thing about it, that's the trickier part, is that so when it's just you and there's only you to count on, well, then you can probably feel pretty reasonably assured that nobody's going to be telling on you because there's nobody there. You don't have a partner. But as soon as you have a partner, now this means that what you're really doing is you're saying to somebody else, we're going to do this crime that is a very dangerous crime that is, going in someone's house, potentially armed, and so you're placing a lot of trust in this other person, because most people would say in that situation, you are crazy and I would never do something like that.
Yeah, but but you meet another person that wants to do it, and then the lure of $1 million, whatever it is, $4 million, maybe makes trust real quick. It's just, I just think that's what it is, but it could be like a couple, So, anyways, I got to get out of here, man. I'm about ready to pass out. I've been doing this, and then I made that whole video, which takes hours to do.
You did. Well, you worked hard on it today. You put in the effort, and I just want to say thanks to all the freaks out there who contributed tonight and put in the comments. And I'll work on a gray voice, but I'm telling you guys right now, it ain't happening. So,
what's not happening?
There's no.
Oh.
I said I'll work on the gray voice.
Oh yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, it's not happening.
Chris O'Connell. Come on, you can do that. Do it. Come on, one more time.
Chris O'Connell.
Oh God, Jesus. That's horrible. That's horrible, man. Okay.
that gives them something to laugh at, right? Because if I did it perfectly like you, well, it wouldn't really be funny. But now,
it's okay.
they can say like, this guy is a complete fail. So.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But anyway, Greg, good call, and
thanks for
I
calling
guess
in.
we're gonna have to, keep our eyes peeled on this. And I know you're the master of the plan, so we'll hear more good news soon, I'm sure.
We'll see. All right. Thanks for calling in. Good stuff.
Talk to you soon, Greg.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
a lot, freaks.
Have a good one. See you.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for Jason Bourne and also Jim for calling in earlier. You know what I'm saying? All right. All right. Thank you to Mimi. Became a new member earlier than we had. So it was Mimi. I feel like I'm sounding like, when I say Mimi, like I sound like the Roadrunner. Meep, meep. And then Wild Bill Wassman, Allie Cake, Tracy Von Brott, Wild Bill Wassman, Six Kids UK, Daphne. All right. Wild Bill Wassman, Karen, Body Blow Biscuit Butter, Wild Bill Wassman, Alley Cake, Wild Bill Wassman, Jim Lawn. He said, met a pretty girl on the beach today. Jim Lawn again, then Six Kids UK. And then 20 minutes after that, we had Tracy Von Brott. And then Karen, Gifted One. Then Six Kids UK matched. Jim Lawn did a challenge. That got us to like 30% of the goal at that point. Then Chris O'Connell came in and did 10. Then Jim Lawn did the 5 that he challenged for. And then Chris O'Connell did 5 more. Chicken wing. And then we had Phyllis Watson gift 5. Then Karen. And then Chris O'Connell did 10. Man, but the trolls at this point are just seething. You know. And then Karen. All right, that was Chris O'Connell. And then Chicken Wing. 26 months of pure hell, right? And then Missy 6, and thanks for being a member that long. Chicken Wing. Jim Lawn and Chris O'Connell. There you go. All right. Anyways, thanks, you guys. And, special thanks to Chris O'Connell for, the going above and beyond there. Thanks for helping out. We made the goal tonight. Made up maybe a little, I don't know, it's hard to say after YouTube. But we may have made up a little bit of yesterday. Because yesterday was a third after, like after YouTube took its cut and everything, it was a third of a normal night after it was all said and done. But we have one more normal day tomorrow. And then we have donation night on the night that we'll hit $300,000. So we've already given out $1,000 this month. And, maybe we can do, if we can, well, at least we'll get to the 3,000. But we'll see if we can have a great donation night. Maybe we can make it to, like 300,000 and, how do you say that? 300,500. That sounds kind of weird. All right. Will do. And thanks, everybody. I just wish it was more like it used to be, It's hard to, I don't know, it's just so many people doing true crime, and if you're not one of the news outlets or something like that, it's hard to, we'll see how it goes. I don't know, maybe there's just needs to be a certain type of case that I'm good at. I don't know. I mean, I'm good at these kind, but it's just, yeah, we're almost there. We're at 298 something. A lot of the troll community dipshits don't even realize that. They think it's all fake and made up and stuff. because they're new to the trolls. You know, they don't really realize, like, every single donation we've proven on the screen. The only ones that I can't do right away are the ones from To Identifinders International, because they send a spreadsheet every once, you know, like once a month or something, and that's what has the numbers on it. So there you go. Thanks, everybody. Really appreciate you guys, and you know, hopefully we can get to a point where it's not as difficult. I don't know how to make that happen, but I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you tomorrow. And who the hell knows what tomorrow will bring? But anyways, thanks for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there. And also, that location is evidence. And that's what we do on this channel, is we make sure that when there's a case that has location information, that you treat it as or more significant than anything else. Because once you get all that down, it puts all the pieces of the puzzle together. So anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. And be safe out there.
The truth is, they're as dumb as they come.
The truth is, you're as dumb as they come. That was the greatest line ever.
Evil can never be dead enough.
And some of you, you make shit up.